Folks, thanks for your patience. I would like to welcome you to the board meeting for November 20th, 2025. And let's start out by saying the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now our vice chair is going to read the public.
Point of order, Madam Chair, I'd like to add the agenda to this would be the appropriate time to do it.
Okay.
I move to add to the agenda under new business for the board's consideration, a motion to pause any work being done by Carrie Thompson for associates in the LLC he represents in our district until the board has reviewed her performance, the professional development of staff, and the results of her consultative services from when she was first hired.
I second it.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Wait, can we have some conversation?
Oh, that's a good idea.
On this item to the agenda, there's not conversation. It's a vote whether be approved to add to the agenda.
Okay.
And I also move that we do by roll call vote. That would need a second. The roll call vote.
Second again.
I'd add it under new business, wherever the chair deems appropriate for new businesses in our agenda.
We don't really have any business, so I guess we'll call it
For
other.
discussion question, are you adding it to the agenda?
It's up to the chair. The chair runs the
I think
meeting.
we should just,
Could
could this be an executive meeting because it's talking about a person?
I think it would be, I think that would be appropriate.
It's the LLC that she represents. That's the organization.
It's still a personal contract, outside contract of business.
Motion still stands.
Okay.
The only discussion point I would add is that this is very similar to what you don't want anybody else doing, is bringing something on board, asking to do it, so I shake this.
So I guess you're right, we have a call, so let's,
So any further discussion from the board? We have a motion and it's been seconded, and I believe we have a second motion for a roll call vote.
Please.
So let's do the roll call. Nancy?
I'm in favor.
Josh?
Yes.
Yes. Marissa's a no.
No?
Without more information on this topic, I'm a no for it now.
I'm a yes.
and Ally?
Yes.
Oh, sorry,
Yes.
turn you up there. Go ahead and say that again.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that is a 5-4.
So.
We'll add it to the agenda.
To the agenda. Where you writing it? Like, sorry,
Where?
under other, item 10.
All right.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add another agenda item for our consideration. I move to add to the agenda under new business for the board's consideration a motion to create a list of individuals within the district with expertise in planning, maintenance, budgeting, et cetera, and invite them to serve on a facilities planning committee to provide feedback to the board on solutions to problems brought to light by the Harriman Facilities Study. And my reason for adding this simply is because I know I am limited in my experience and knowledge when it comes to such a large facility as we have here, 8 buildings, in the 1,000-page report that I have read/scanned at this point. And I'm hopeful that there are people in our community who would have that expertise that could be helpful to the board. So I'd like to add it to the agenda for a motion to do just that.
Seconded.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Do we have any discussion?
Does it have to be a motion? Can we just talk about it when we talk about Lebanon Elementary follow-up?
Is it broader than Lebanon Elementary?
It is. It's our entire district. The Harriman study was our entire district.
Any further discussion? I would like to remind all of the board members that the proper protocol for adding an item to the agenda is not to add it at the meeting. It's to notify me as the board chair at least a week ahead of time so that it can be added to the agenda. So in the future, I would ask that you would respect that. So we have a motion that has been seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
So that's 5-4 in the other direction. That it does not pass.
So if you would like to add that to a future agenda, send me my please.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, just one last consideration for our agenda tonight. I move that we add to the agenda under old business to the board's consideration, a motion to schedule a workshop meeting with Harriman and Associates representatives to allow the board to have a conversation with them and ask questions regarding their report. This goes back to, we paid $100,000 for a report. They presented it to us without any chance for us to really read and understand. We couldn't even read the 64 slides because of how small they were. Now that we've had appropriate time to read the report, I think it'd be great for the board to meet with Harriman and Associates to ask the questions that we have regarding the information in that report. We need a second.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
It's to have a workshop.
Yes, it would be a workshop meeting. That is my motion.
In the future.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious why you didn't just email this to Kate and have a chance for administration to reach out to them to try and see if this is doable. I think that it's a good idea, but I think that it would have been a more effective use of everyone's time to have gone through the proper channels.
I appreciate that. We have asked. We actually asked 6 months ago and it has yet to be scheduled. So now I'm doing it through Robert's Rules of Order, which is another way that our meetings run.
Is there a cost associated with bringing Harriman back? I would want to know that before I voted on this, because I feel like the 1,000-page report is pretty comprehensive and self-explanatory. But-
I would anticipate that would be a yes.
Okay.
That wouldn't be under our agreement, and we with the board at some point in time to discuss the report. Yes.
I can't, I'm not going to say with certainty that they would say, yes, that's fine, or not, to be honest
Can we
with you.
find that out maybe before we take a vote on this and table this? Sorry, I don't want to shut you down again, Josh, but
Let's see, actual motion.
Yeah, could you make a concise motion?
I move to add to the agenda, right? So it's adding to the agenda. This is just to the agenda, right? It's not making a vote, to clarify, Ali. It's not to vote for that, it's to add it to the agenda so that we can then discuss and decide what we want to do. So I'm just adding it to the agenda for our work tonight.
I would say that we have a long agenda for tonight already, and adding it for discussion without knowing if there's going to be an associated cost is not a good use of the board time.
I think I would concur with that, and if you could wait and you would add this to the agenda for December 3rd, I'd appreciate that, and hopefully, not hopefully, but I know that Sue and Audrey would have an answer for us about that in terms of related costs.
Still like to vote on it, but we add to the agenda tonight. How does the board feel?
Have we have a motion? Any further discussion? So we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of the motion to invite Harriman for a workshop?
Well, no, this is to just schedule
Just to schedule
the conversation, to
Got it.
have the conversation.
All those in favor
Aye.
Right, 1, 2, 3, 4.
and all those opposed?
1, 2, 5, 4. All right.
Did that pass?
Okay. Yep. That did not pass. I'm sorry.
Did not pass.
It did not pass.
Okay.
Um,
So we are only adding the discussion, the LLC and performance metrics.
Thank you.
mhm.
Thank you, Josh.
and that would obviously be added to December 3rd, right? Since we don't have any of that information.
Tonight.
Well, in terms of the first edition,
Right.
I think it's I think it's been added to the agenda to talk about adding it to to future, I think, is that the conversation will happen tonight about the request for this stopping all. Right, but we're going to need some. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything that they would like to add to the agenda at this point? Okay, so without further ado, the public input statement, please.
Oh, I just lost.
The first public input session is a 21-minute session with each person having no longer than 3 minutes in which to make a statement. But a second public input session may be held at the end of the meeting if allowed by the board chair. Each speaker will give his or her name, address, and reason for speaking. Public input is designated for district residents, but the board chair may grant non-residents the opportunity to address the board. Statements concerning subject matter that falls under the law regarding executive sessions, for example, matters involving personnel, cannot be made during public input. We as a community pledge to treat each other as we wish to be treated. We pledge to seek understanding when there may be disagreement. Regardless of outcomes or opinions, we pledge to move forward with respect. This is time for comments and or questions for the board, but please be aware that questions may not be able to be answered at the meeting.
Thank you. So do we have any public commentary from the attendees here tonight?
So, my name is Christina Brown. I live in Berwick. And I just wanted to speak tonight, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. My name is Christina Brown. I'm from Berwick. I just wanted to speak tonight, in strong support of keeping the preschool program. As a mom of 4, I wish this opportunity had been available to my own family. Early learning is about so much more than academics. Preschool gives children the chance to practice connecting with others, building relationships, learning routines, sharing with peers, and expressing ideas within a group. These social and emotional skills form the foundation of being part of a school community. Our program that we currently use is a thoughtfully developed curriculum designed to enhance learning through play, the same curriculum used by other public schools across Maine. By offering this consistent research-based early learning experience, we are giving these kids a strong and unified foundation before they begin their academic journey. It has been said at multiple school board meetings before that our district struggles with academics. When children enter kindergarten already knowing how to be a student, how to listen, collaborate, navigate routines, and manage emotions, they have mental space and confidence to focus on academics right away. Instead of spending the first months of school learning expectations, they can dive directly into the early literacy, math, and problem-solving skills. This early readiness not only helps individual children become stronger learners, but it also elevates the overall pace and quality of instruction for the entire class. Over time, this leads to stronger academic outcomes and rising achievement across all grade levels. The preschool program provides a meaningful way for children to learn through play, form connections, and build confidence before taking the next steps into their education. It is an invaluable resource that supports families, strengthens classrooms, and helps set our students on a path toward long-term academic success. And that's not just in early learning, but it's going to be shown if given the time throughout their entire career here at the Noble District.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have any other public input? Okay, we will also have a 20-minute public input session at the end of the meeting. So if you have questions at that time, you can address them. Right now, we're going to look at the minutes of November 6th and either approve or update. Excuse me. Just now. Do we have any comments for the November 6th meeting notes? Nothing, Lauren?
They're pretty,
I don't think.
So to the,
they're pretty
Pretty nice job with these.
Well, they're pretty.
Simple.
I'm using the new
The new
thing.
And you're doing an awesome job too. Thank you,
Yeah,
Sue.
thank you. Thanks, Jerry.
I'm truly, I am really good.
Yeah. No,
Although
I believe
came across a little.
No, it's
flip,
okay, it's okay.
It really wasn't. I appreciate the brevity.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept the November 6th minutes.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. Any further discussion on the November 6 minutes? All those in favor of approving? All those? I guess we're good.
Okay.
And the motion is passed. Now we're going to do an update of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges visit. And this will be presented by Principal Dufort and Assistant Principal Carney.
Can you turn me a little more, Sue, so I can see the?
I'm gonna go, do you want to see the speakers or do you want to see the screen?
Oh, the screen. No, I can't see the screen anyways. Let's go with the speaker.
You can look at Ally. Great.
Perfect. Good evening. Just before we kick off this presentation, I want to welcome, we have some Noble High School students in attendance this evening. So this is the time of year for those of you that have been on the board previously, that students will come out as part of their course. Work here is to attend a meeting. So not all choose to come to a school board meeting. Some may choose other town meetings, but it's just great to have our students in attendance. So welcome, guys. We're happy to have you. The bulk of this is going to be Ms. Kearney in her role as assistant principal and director of studies. She had done a presentation for our staff with our NEASC visit upcoming. So for those of you that don't know, really quickly, on October 20th and 21st, we had 6 individuals from around our area. They were from Maine and New Hampshire that visited our school and looked over a tremendous amount of materials that our staff had put together for them, interviewed teacher and teacher teams in classrooms, watching what was going on in classrooms, reporting what was happening, and they will be sending, I thought we would have had a draft by now, but we don't quite have their preliminary draft that we'll be receiving really soon. So at this point, I would like for you all to be able to see the presentation that Ms. Kearney had put together for our staff that outlined the process. I think it's just really important to see the tremendous amount of work that went into preparing for this visit and hosting these folks. Ms. Kearney, you're up.
Thank you. So for those of you that have been on the board for a while, probably Peg, you will have remembered we've talked about this every 10 years or so. The peak of the accreditation cycle comes back. And for those of you that have been in classrooms, particularly at the high school level, so Josh, I think you guys probably over at Summersworth have done this somewhat recently. And the process has changed. So they've modernized the process, they've aligned standards to what are considered current best practices. And to ease the burden on schools, because what they don't like to see is that everything comes to a screeching halt at schools to prepare for this, which is common because it is such a heavy lift. They've changed how they will be doing this. So I wanted to share a little bit about the process, where we are in the process, because there will be in 2 years a part of the process that will involve the board. So if any of you are still members of the board at that time, you will be involved at that level. So that's part of the reason for the update. So again, the flavor of the accreditation team, they're trying to be less authoritarian, a little less scary, a little less pedantic and draconian. And that's where we made jokes with our staff that these sprouts are really showing growth over time. So this is the new way to look at it. It's much more of a collaborative partnership of looking at how you can aim to improve, as opposed to in the past, it was really the school didn't meet X, Y, or Z, and now that really comes in the form of a reprimand. So they're moving away from that and moving more towards a collaborative growth-based model. Similarly, they've changed the standards for accreditation. There used to be 7 areas of standard. There are now 5. The student learning standard, however, is big, both in the graphic but also in the standards. They really just smushed everything in there. So the amount of work on our end really has been the same, but they've organized the standards differently.
Great.
The other piece that's different is that they categorize the standards in two different ways. There are the standards that are called the principles of effective practice. They look at schools and they looked at us to see whether we did or didn't meet those. There's a different kind of standards called the foundational elements. And so if you look here, for those of you that know the kids here probably are too young, but Mr. T is how we kind of taught our staff what the foundational elements are. And these are the pity the fool standards. So this is either you have it or you don't. And if you don't, there's a greater sense of urgency of making sure that you do. Okay, so again, an example of foundational element is that you must have this as a school. You can read here, the school community provides a socially and emotionally safe environment for students. And there's two indicators of that. That's a must have. There's no sort of gradation. There's no kind of have it. There's no working your way toward it. You must have that. And throughout the accreditation standards, there's a number of those identified you must haves. Okay. Where we are in the cycle, and we're going to reduce that to sort of the halfway point, but again, it never leaves. We're always doing this, just the intensity at which our focus is on it changes. So last school year, we conducted our self-reflection, and so how that looked is our whole staff worked in accordance to the standards, wrote reports of whether or not we did or didn't adhere to them, collected evidence of that, and then produce comprehensive reports that are very fun to write and read. But it really embodies a lot of work that we're really proud of. And for those of you that have done this or are familiar with this, it's one of the best professional development practices that you can really do, is to look critically at your own school. The other thing that we do is we encourage our teachers to go to other schools and be a part of their process, and you learn a lot that way too. We recently, as AJ talked about, had our collaborative conference visits, which will then lead to when we receive their full written feedback, the development and implementation of our growth plan, and then comes a secondary visit. So that's a major change. So they used to just come once every 10 years. Now they come twice. Okay, so we just had our one of two. And again, this is how we explained it. So our self-reflection there is all the way to the left-hand side, our collaborative conference. We refer to as the mini-me, followed by the growth, very new progressive sprouting, and then followed by our Dr. Evil visit, which is our primary large decennial visit, and that'll be longer. So they were here for 2 days for the mini-me, and they'll be here for 3 days, which is more the traditional time frame for the decennial visit. Essentially, at the decennial visit, they're going to be checking back on whether or not we have made growth and progress in the areas that they have asked us to. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. You don't need that information. That was our staff liaison. His name's Carl, in case you care. He met with the staff prior to when we launched the process. And again, the way that the reports were written, schools have a choice on how they do this. Some schools have a small team working on it, which is a change that you're allowed to do that now. Other schools have their whole staff working on it. We chose the whole staff model. We really thought it was important to not have the opinions or perspectives of few drive the results of this analysis. So while we have a steering committee, so you can sort of recognize the faces there. So it's our administrative team, our director, school council, Nancy's the other one there that you might not recognize. But then Danny Menuti, she's the first photo there, is one of our biology teachers. We basically just help the staff organize the whole process. The reflection committees, the whole staff divided themselves up, selected the standards that they wanted to work on, and then worked in groups on, at that time, our late start Wednesday time to do the report writing. Within each one of those groups, we identified lead writers who had the responsibility of making sure a draft of the report got sent to us too. One of the pieces, again, that I mentioned that this process helps us do is review our past work and then to identify those areas that we really want to continue to work on. So briefly, I want to share with you some of the highlights of some of the work that we mentioned with the report and when we invited the team in that we reviewed with them. One of the things that was new was the vision of the graduate. So previously, those have been referred to as our 21st century learning expectations. They're now our vision of graduate expectations. defined as our core values and beliefs about learning combined with our graduate profile, which again, taking those 21st century learning expectations, we did a review of those. Our vision of graduate committee, took feedback from students, staff, families, went through an approval process to develop a vision of a graduate. You'll see these around school. I believe we gave a presentation on this at the time where we had developed it. Kids are assessed on school-wide rubrics on all of those vision of graduate expectations. They must pass those in order to earn a available high school diploma. They also reflect on those at the end of the year, student-led conferences. They have to talk about areas of strength and weakness for each one of those graduate expectations. And the culmination of all of that occurs at the Senior Project. We highlighted our proficiency-based system of teaching and learning. One of the new features of the standards is they're really pushing most schools to adopt this style of teaching and learning. So for our system, we work to communicate to students the skills and knowledge they will study and practice. We create opportunities for practice, meaning that they are eligible to revise and retake under certain conditions, that we expect them to practice, and that it's okay that during practice moments you may need to try something again. We use formative assessments to check in to see how much they're learning. When we give tests and quizzes and we design assessments, we make sure that they are aligned to the standards that we are assessing them on. They're just not arbitrary. And we give them different opportunities to demonstrate proficiency. Another piece, and I'll pause here on this one a little bit. We disaggregate work habits here. That is actually now an accreditation standard. I remember 10 years ago, we were talking about doing this. We were one of the first schools to start doing it. And many schools have continued to try to. It's hard. It's hard philosophically. It's hard in practice. Standard 2.8, it's now the expectation that this is done. It's often one of those reach areas for schools. I know that there was some public comment about the concerns of not taking points off for late work. I just want to talk about that a little bit. One of the reasons that we do this is to highlight certain areas of work habits for students instead of blending it in with their academic grade. So here, kids get 2 grades in every class. They get an academic grade, which is an assessment of their mastery in terms of the content area standards. But separate from that is their work habits grade that's printed on report cards and transcripts. And that assesses things like meeting deadlines, like being prepared for class, being organized, academic honesty. There's a school-wide rubric that teachers go through and assess students for work habits in all of those categories. Kids self-reflect in all of those categories. And then teachers leverage the work habits grade in a number of ways. If you're not passing your work habits, you don't get senior privileges. If you aren't passing your work habits, you might not be eligible to revise or retake an assessment. If you're not passing your work habits, you're probably not going to be prepared for the assessment. That's the sort of that intrinsic motivation you try to teach kids. And so there's other ways that we hold students accountable in terms of their work habits. What we're trying to not do is to give students the extra fluff for things that they don't know, right? So a student who maybe doesn't know what they're doing on their math test, but is always doing their homework, their grades probably inflated. And then vice versa, those kids are really neat, where they're very skilled in the content knowledge and their work habits aren't so hot. That would look like they weren't as proficient as they potentially were. So we were surprised to see that was now becoming an accreditation standard and expectation for everybody. It is a journey, for sure. So again, separating work habits, something we've been doing for a long time. Schools, now with reading these, are probably scrambling to figure all that out. There's a copy of the work habits for if you're interested. The other piece here that was, again, at one point unique to us, was becoming more of an expectation universally, is that kids demonstrate proficiency in all standards, not just some. This is, again, our graduation requirement that we've been working on at this point for 11 years. We offer standard recovery classes, so students don't have to retake an entire course. They remediate terms of the standards that they missed. To differentiate instruction, assessment, and the experience for kids in our heterogeneously grouped classrooms, we offer things like honors options. As an aside, there's also some new pressure for heterogeneous grouping and detracking in the standards, which was kind of always our thing, but seeing now that there's some invitations for others to join. Diploma endorsement options are something that we highlighted and are proud of. Again, that's another way that in a heterogeneously grouped classroom, we can sort of really extend for those students looking to seek additional challenges. We offer 3 kinds of diploma endorsements. 2 in STEM, one sort of more general STEM, one specific for engineering STEM. So that differentiates between maybe more of our vocational student who isn't taking advanced calculus, but there's 2 different kinds for that, as well as our SEAL endorsement, which is more of the humanities-based track. So kids have to meet a number of requirements, like ELO opportunities, or a senior project specifically in those areas, for example, to earn that endorsement under diploma and graduation. Through development of all of this, teachers study their content area standards. That's how they developed their graduation standards. We have defined our graduation standards in documents called graduation standards grids. And the reason why we bring this up is because we didn't just take the standards directly from either the Common Core or the Next Gen Science standards in the way they were compartmentalized. Teachers really reorganized them in ways that made the most sense for student assessment and in terms of their scope and sequence and units of study. Teachers communicate learning targets to our students. Those learning targets are tied back to the graduation standards. It's one of the ways that we ensure that our written curriculum is our taught curriculum. You can see here, Lisa Gray, that's a very old picture of her. She would be mortified. That's why I put it there. This is from her classroom, so you can see here she does a great job of really making it clear to kids or really anybody who comes into her room. There are 6 English graduation standards. You can see them all presented there in each one of the little folders, and within those graduation standard folders are the learning targets. So she pulls one out, kids, this is what you're going to say you can do. I can do X, Y, or Z. Teaches to that, assesses to that, and puts it in the grade book according to that standard. So it's all connected. Teachers have developed scope and sequence documents for each one of their courses. Scope and sequence documents basically show the units of study, how long teachers spend on them, and the standards assessed in them. One of the big sort of heavy lifts in these new standards, it's one of the pity the fool standards, it's the foundational elements, is that you must have a written curriculum. And that sounds simple and obvious, and of course schools have a written curriculum. It's easier said than done. So schools must have a written curriculum in a common format is the actual standard. And so what they do is they check and they look at all the teachers, all the classes. Do you have a syllabus? Is it in the same format? Do they have lesson plans? Do they have unit plans? All of these things. And for anybody who's familiar about working on curriculum, which maybe there's not a lot, it's always a work in progress. It's very dynamic. New staff come in. And so to have that be met has been very hard. We met it, by the way. So, but it's a lot of work. And so this is sort of thank you to the board to continue to allow us to have that Wednesday time to do that. That's how we are able to do all of this. So again, we have written unit plans, common performance assessments, student work exemplars, so that kids and teachers know what advanced work looks like, distinguished work, and basic work. Okay. Common language for format. And so what was fun about having our 7th and 8th graders here is that I got to design a new 7th and 8th grade variety of a syllabus with little pictures and stuff like that. So that's been fun for us. So again, the organization of the written curriculum in a common format. One of the ways we organize this is that we have it all on the table here to help the accreditation body, but also help our staff, teachers, and families when you request a certain document. We highlighted our professional learning groups and educator showcases. So one of the ways that we utilize our staff meetings instead of hearing me talk, which you are all doing right now, or, an expert that we would have to pay to come in. We really try to highlight the expertise of our teachers. They would much rather hear from one another about the awesome things they're doing in each other's classrooms. So in the past, we've done differentiated instruction, interdisciplinary learning, or just really highlighting and showcasing student work. They also expect that we have a number of student support systems here in schools. So we highlighted our BAR model, our RTI process, so building assets, reducing risks, response to intervention. Our trauma-informed practices work, we really dug into that since they were last year. Regulated classroom, again, on trauma-informed teaching, and a number of the other initiatives from our school counseling department. Those are photo of our Noble ambassadors, who I think that you've heard from and seen, especially at events that help kids who are new to school get acclimated, that help families find their classrooms at parent-teacher conferences, helped on 8th grade orientation, for example. There are a lot of standards that were new this round around fair access and equitable practices. That is under standard 1. Those were new. We had already begun that work prior to the writing of the standards. We tried to always kind of be the ones to start to do things, but community circles, restorative practices, the idea of belonging, we've been encouraging this grouping since I was thinking it was probably in 2nd grade. So the idea of differentiating, allowing retakes, revisions, or extension requests are all parts of that.
Yeah.
The other thing in terms of school safety, so they rewrote some of their standards around school safety, that's standard 5. So some of these things I'm showing here, we did not have 10 years ago, so we highlighted those. Our vape detector systems, as well as the implementation of Crisis Go, so our communication app during an emergency, our alignment to ALICE best practices for enhanced lockdowns, as well as the key fobs on all the doors. We realized that the classrooms were not a part of the school 10 years ago when they came before, so they got to hear all of those things. They also were very interested in our process for student recognition and achievement. So this was from last year. It's Noble 8 Pride Awards. We do 7 and 8 now. Many of the teams in the high school do Student of the Month. And then throughout the school year, there's many academic achievement award nights through both academics, athletics, and other clubs. One of the other pieces that we highlighted that really wasn't so much part of our narrative 10 years ago was the sort of explosion of our kids having early college opportunities. So we talked about that a lot with them, as well as co-op and work study. And I know AJ and I talked about that previously. AJ talks about it quite frequently. And all of this really exploded after COVID, once kids really, our world of learning both closed and opened all at the same time. So just to sort of wrap it up, one of the other things that we did, families, students, and staff complete a survey that is required by NEASC that had been done last year, maybe the beginning of this year. This just shows that we had set that out, the completion rates, and the visiting team receives that report and reviews the responses. And AJ has shared some of those results here before we do. That was last year.
Yep.
I'll start this end by saying one of the other pieces of this is that at some schools, this process can be contentious because you have to come to an agreement of where the school stands in alignment to each one of the standards. And so after the writing and the draft reviewing and the editing, we have to rank ourselves in accordance to a rubric of how well we do or do not align to each of the principles of effective practice, and whether we did or did not beat the pity the fool, foundational element once. And so we do that by survey, and we're just really want to highlight is a really point of pride for us is that if you notice these, 100% of the staff anonymous survey all agreed with the rating. So that was a big deal for us. So very proud of our people. And it's not because they're afraid of us, hopefully, just to be clear. Because it is anonymous. And you would always expect that there's one, right? One person, but it looks like we're all hopefully rowing about the same direction is what it shows. That's our update. The only thing I will say last is that the chair of the accreditation team that came to view us probably gave us the best compliment that we could receive, is that he felt, he sees a lot of schools and he says the things that he asked himself is, would I be comfortable sending my grandchildren here? And he said he would absolutely do that, and that regardless of all the feedback, that's a good place for us. So we have a lot of work to do, and we look forward to doing it as we always do, but so far everything was really positive from the visit. So thank you all for the time you've given us to do all of this work, because we do much more difficult without it. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I survived my cough, so I'm sorry.
Excited for a minute. So I just wanted, so last year, I believe roughly this time of year, maybe a little bit earlier in October, timing kind of runs together. We had come and sort of the presentation at that point was more around sort of just an update to us of our school, things, academics, graduation rates, historical data, and obviously understanding that tonight, that the focus was going to be NEASC. What I have done is just put together a little one-pager that highlights the class of 2025. So not wanting to go through a 50-slide slideshow of all the things that are happening in the building, wanting sort of that NEASC piece is super important this year, but also just wanting folks to have some information about the class of 2025 because they would not have been included in last year's. So I'm just going to hand this out. I've got a bunch of the folks that are here. We want one, you're welcome to it. I will not be offended at all if it does. Keep taking them around, that would be great. So just really quick, and truly really quick, because I know you folks have a lengthy agenda. But I want to talk a little bit about, so NWBA testing, obviously that is what the state uses for our testing. And so just so everyone knows, and we certainly look at and respond to the state data that comes out. So what you would see, so like for our class of 2025, the state data that gets published and sent out, that would have been from spring of 2023. That's when they would have been sophomores in high school. So the testing that comes out is fine. It's certainly a measure. It's posted publicly, and that's great. It is what it is. It's a improvement point. But one of the things that I think is important to share, the students that are deemed proficient are the students that scored in reading a 212 or higher, that number, on that day in April or early May of 2023. It doesn't matter if all through their freshman year, when they took the assessment twice, they were proficient. Maybe in the fall of their sophomore year, they were proficient. We do test our students as juniors, so in the fall of their junior year, they may have been proficient. The one number that counts, and that number doesn't change, and again, it's fine, that's the measure, it's fair for everyone, it's there, but that is the number. So one of the things I think is important is when our students leave us, what percentage of our students, who among our students reach the goal that the state of Maine determines? And again, somebody decides that's the number, so that's the number we go with. But I want to see when students are leaving us, where they're at. And so in reading, 207 of the 228 students that crossed the stage at graduation earned a score above that 212 number. So I think that's just important to note when we're thinking about, are our students reading, when they leave us. So that, again, those numbers. When you look at math, the math number is not as high. We all recognize that math is an area that we're working on. In our middle school grades, we are the iReady program. So we're working on that. We're hoping to see that data come up through. But again, I think the numbers just look a little bit different when you're seeing across the board and so for math, the number is a 229. I can't tell you what a 229 actually means as far as how many of the 34 questions you got right. I don't know, because I don't think there is a number. It's not like if you get 22 right out of 34, you're good. If you get 21, you missed it. It's more complicated than that. Depends on which types of questions you get right or wrong. One of the things that I think is also, again, and these are the numbers, we had 79 students in the class of 2025, so that's about 35% of our class. So I think when you're thinking about early college, sometimes we think about, our top 10, or our, I'm sure our valedictorian and salutatorian are taking college classes. This is over 35% of students in the class, and not even necessarily like the top 35%, because when I get to that, you'll see there's AP, and a lot of times students are doing
a lot of one or the other as far as those courses. Some students prefer the AP options, some students prefer early college options. But we had, so the percentage pass of those 179 early college classes was 99.44%. And then the percentage of students that earned a C or higher in that class was a 93.85%. So I think our students did pretty well on those courses. You guys have seen before, we've talked about at prior meetings, our graduation rate, but it seemed like just having that for comparison, it made sense to put on this document. And then on the back, you see AP. So these are only AP courses that were taken by the class of 2025. So we did not run an AP Lang class in 2022, 2023 with one student. There was one sophomore student who's in that class with a bunch of juniors and seniors. But I wanted to kind of parse out, for the sake of this discussion, keep it focused on the class of 2025. And again, so what you'll see is the ones in green, and I apologize, I picked too dark of a green. It looked good on my screen. It looks terrible in print, sorry. But of the 19 tests that were taken throughout, our students exceeded the global average in 16 of the 19 classes. And one of the things that makes sense to me, you look at like a sophomore taking the AP US history, that's really early to take that class because they haven't taken history in high school in our building. So that's a bit of a stretch. I don't think I'm surprised that they didn't do as well. Obviously, when you see our juniors that took it and then our seniors that took it, they end up doing better as they're older. I think that maturity piece certainly is a factor, but our students are allowed to take on that challenge if they choose to. We don't screen AP classes. AP classes are open to all students. If they want to take on the challenge and they think they can do it and they've demonstrated that, they're able to take it on, we let them take it on. So again, I am also happy. I don't pretend that this is comprehensive. I tried to fit it on one piece of paper, front and back. So if there's anything that you guys want to see, any information, like, yeah, what about, or how many kids pass it in the fall and don't in the spring, I have all that stuff. I'm happy to sit down. As a former math teacher, like, this is fun to do this. So I'm more than happy to sit down and look at this with folks. So if there's something that's missing or just questions that come up, because sometimes things create more questions than answers, please, please, please reach out. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Yeah, do we have any questions from the board at this point? Do we want to, we had talked about getting copies of the slides and then having an opportunity to discuss at our next meeting. Should we proceed with that protocol?
So Ally, can you share that?
Yeah, you already
You got
Yeah.
it. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so Denise is going to be giving us the financial summary for October of 2025.
This is just a hard copy for you, but that's it.
So you should have attached to your agenda as well, the electronic copy. We are 1/3 of the way through the fiscal year, believe it or not. Up in the revenue section, you can see that we have 67% remaining, which is right on pace with the amount of fiscal year. That occurs largely because most of our income comes from the towns and from the state of Maine. So every month we get the money from them, and that's why we're able to stay pretty much on target. Down in the expense section, you can see that we have 14% remaining after we make, encumbrances and acknowledge all of the salaries and benefits that we know we'll pay through the year. That includes purchase orders that haven't been paid yet, but have things that have been ordered. So we're looking at about a 14% amount remaining. What I try to do with that number is I try to compare it to prior years. And since 22, 23, 24, we were 13 to 15% remaining in those years. So 14% to me says we're kind of similar to prior years. We're tracking according to our usual metrics and things like that. I don't know if you have any questions in particular. There is one financial thing I wanted to ask of you. If you remember, in June, we had to dispose of some school buses. And in prior years, we had gone out to bid and we had, received sealed bids and we collected probably a couple $100 a bus. We asked for permission to take the buses to the scrapyard instead. We collected approximately $4,000 for those 3 buses. 1138, 1348, and 1358. Number disease. So it's just over 39, just around 3,900. But we have 2 more buses that are ready to go, and 1 more bus that will be in the coming months. And I just wanted to get your permission for this year to take those again to the scrapyard to collect money that way.
Motion, I'll make a motion, we allow Denise to scrap the buses. Scrap.
I'll second. It's been seconded?
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Do we know that the rates will be,
No,
do we know the
it's,
rates will be similar to what they are now versus putting them out to bid? Like, is this still the most cost effective?
Yes, I
Okay.
think based on what we normally collected, a couple $100 a bus. And while I can't guarantee the rates at the scrapyard, our maintenance supervisor, Jeremiah Sear, seems to think that it would be financially beneficial to do it this way. So I
Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion to scrap buses.
Hold on, one more.
Oh, one more, sorry.
So is there any kind of limitation of what they can do with those?
Yes, so these are usually buses that are replaced, and the state of Maine requires that we dispose of them and not reuse them. So again, our 2 primary options would be to put them out for bid, which we've done for a lot of years, or scrap them. Did you?
So does the scrapyard sell them or do they break them down?
I have no idea.
Okay, and it doesn't matter, right?
Right, because once
So there's
in order to
limitations
scrap
on
them, we
them.
have to turn over the title, I believe, and it's basically we're selling them to the scrapyard and they're giving us the value of the metal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? So we have a motion, it's been seconded to scrap the buses. All those in favor? All those opposed? And the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. We'll let you introduce the next up.
So our next 2 topics are a continuation of the special meeting that we had last week. There were some questions that came up. We discussed pre-K and we discussed Lebanon Elementary School. We're going to start with pre-K. There were a few questions that we needed to look into this week. So we do have some of our principals here. We have Dr. Swiger here, who's really taken the lead on working with the pre-K. We have some of our pre-K teachers here. We are mindful of the fact that we are starting and we are involved in our budget process. And our target goal is obviously to make a decision for pre-K so that we can plan accordingly. So our hope this evening is with this further information, you will be prepared to make a decision this evening. And so we'll be able to move ahead however that is, but we just need to know for planning purposes. So Dr. Swiger is going to start with some of the questions that came up. And then we'll talk a little bit about structures because that was another part of the question, the bigger part of the question. So we'll go from there.
So I wasn't at the last board meeting, but I think one of the questions that came up was about the benefits of the full day structure that we have in place. And, there's the world of research. You can find a ton of articles that are very positive and just like any topic, probably find some opposing views. So instead of sending a ton of articles out, we thought, why not go to the teachers who are experiencing it day in and day out, and what their perspective is on what has been the impact of doing a full day program. What are they seeing for their kiddos? What are they hearing from their families? What are the benefits? What are the challenges? And I meet with them periodically, and I really didn't know how the conversation would go. I didn't know if they would, voice a lot of challenges, but overwhelmingly, all 6 teachers felt strongly that a full day model had significant advantages to a half day program. These are just their insights and observations, again, from the people who are experiencing this new program that we have in place day to day. And we're just sharing their perspectives just to add to the conversation. A couple themes emerged. The teachers, one clear theme in our conversations was they really felt like this full day model allowed for richer instructional time. The teachers were a little bit concerned that a half day model would not allow them to explore the curriculum with the same depth, immersion, or hands-on learning experiences that they currently provide. They really feel like with this model, they can take a deep dive into instruction, introducing skills, practicing them, revising them, and revisiting them later in the day. They're seeing that repeated exposure strengthens understanding, retention, and confidence. This is what they're seeing in their kiddos, and having those extended time periods with them, they're finding very beneficial for the curriculum. They felt, again, these are just their conversations that we were having, that if it was to shift to a half day, it would almost feel a little more like surface level, where right now they can really dig into these themes, dig into the curriculum, provide repetition and different opportunities for learning. So the richer instructional time was definitely a theme in the conversation. I think the next one that emerged was the social and emotional development. They felt as though in the full day program, these students had far more opportunities to practice and internalize essential social and emotional skills. So through the longer day, students are naturally encountering a wider range of social situations with their peers, sharing materials, solving conflicts, working in groups, taking turns, and navigating friendship dynamics. And these moments happen organically throughout the day and repeatedly. So they just feel like that full day offers a lot of opportunities for these experiences for these kiddos, and for them to put into practice some of the social emotional skills that they're working on with them. So that was another strong theme in our conversation. Another one was just the relationships, like when we were talking about it, they're like, oh, we just have such strong connections with these kiddos already, being with them all day, learning the ins and outs and their likes and their dislikes, and just felt as though if the time was shortened, they might not have as such a strong understanding or relationship with their students. So that was another strong theme. They also felt like this model really would do a better job getting our kiddos ready for kindergarten and acclimating them to that routine. So that was another strong theme through our conversation. They felt as though the model does provide time for rest and self-regulation. Students have rest time or nap time, so they weren't feeling a lack of some downtime for the kiddos. They felt like it was a good balance of what they're doing socially, academically, and having that rest time. And interesting, some of them brought up that, some families might think, wow, my child's never ready, full day, that's so overwhelming, but they are blown away at what these students are capable of doing. And they even mentioned, parents might be surprised at what their kiddos could actually do. So again, in summary, they really felt like the full day model was stronger in that it allowed them to provide deeper, more meaningful learning experiences, building stronger relationships, supporting that social emotional component, and preparing them for kindergarten. We talked about other things, but those were definitely the top themes. And I do have some of the pre-K teachers here. Am I forgetting anything, or does anyone want to add anything that I may have checked on?
One of the things that came up with the public survey that was brought out to the families of pre-K was the fact that because we are a full day pre-K program, these families have the opportunity to work during the day. It's very difficult to have a job when your pre-K student is only going to school for part of the day, but because they're there full day, they are able to get out and have a job, which is helping their family even more.
Right, and I did talk about that a little bit at that pre-K forum, the survey that we sent out to families. I think we have about 92 families. We had about a close to 50% response rate. 100% of the respondents rated their child's experience as positive or very positive. And again, if you were at the forum, I'm just reading myself. Some of the top benefits reported by families were that the child development component, just the huge gains they're seeing in that social, emotional, and academic growth, the financial impact to the families. I'm able to go back to work, I can get more hours, I can buy groceries. That was another clear theme. And just the enjoyment and engagement, things that were working well. Could not say enough about our pre-K teachers throughout the survey. The consistent structure, they were seeing how that is showing positives at home as well. Students loving the specials, many people saying all of it, all of it. The challenges reported that I spoke to at the forum, getting used to riding the bus, picky eaters, and being tired. So I had mentioned those at the forum. But so that was one of the questions I think that was brought up, was just how are our kiddos faring in the full day model, and what are our teachers thinking this experience? Is it too much? Is it, and it's clear that they're not finding that it's too much. I think they're appreciative of the full day model and the impact that it's having on their kiddos and the communication that they're getting from their families. So just to cover that question.
Josh?
I don't know if any of our current pre-K teachers do, I should use the mic, I'm so sorry. Do any of our current pre-K teachers have significant experience in a half-day pre-K model?
Yes, they do.
They do?
Yep.
Okay. And did that come up at all?
And I was actually curious to see what that person and favored the full day model much better. Logistically, everything, relationship-wise, timing.
Did you?
Not that that is saying that that's
No,
for everybody.
no.
There are families who, you know, would prefer half-day model, and
I was just curious as far as like, do we have, were we comparing experiences, or were we just
we
sharing about
had
our-
a teacher, two teachers who had experience with half-day models.
Yeah, I think it's enough. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Just to note, guys, the mics aren't working well, so projection, we need to project, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question you wanted me to address was?
The structure, different
Oh, the structure.
structures.
So
let's just, if you give me a moment to hand these out.
Oh, sure.
Okay, here you go. Thank you. I'm also going to have Melissa Adams come up as well to talk about this portion as you're starting to go through the structure.
Sure.
Do you want a copy?
No.
You've got it?
Yes. So one thing, as we talk about these different structures, because I know some board members are curious about different structuring of the program, full day, half day. As I meet regularly with our DOE pre-K rep, and they are always reminding me what a Herculean task we have done. Most districts, when they're starting a new pre-K program, it's 1 to 2 classrooms. We have implemented 6 classrooms in a really large district in terms of outfitting, training, curriculum, routines, systems. The DOE is reminding me the fact that we have taken on 6 full-day classrooms is a really amazing and huge task. So the thought of changing that model after only 1 year logistically seems a little rushed and a little remiss, but we will throw different ideas out there. Obviously, our recommendation, and Melissa can speak a little bit to this after I talk maybe through all of them quickly. Does that make sense? So we would recommend that we continue as is, that there's 2 full-day pre-Ks in all 3 towns. In addition to a special purpose pre-K with students with IEPs that Melissa will talk about. So that would be our recommendation. I know other people are interested in some other models, so some other brainstorms were to keep 1 full day and then 1 half day in each town, in addition to that district special ed program. I'm not quite sure the enrollment will be there in those half-day models. Like, I don't think we'll get 16 and 16 in both sessions and the full day, so enrollment could be, 8 to 10. I think that would be a big lift from what we're already doing, changing that structure of the 2 full-day classrooms, transportation, routines. It's just a lot when we're still in the early phases of this. Option 3 offers the full day, the 2 full-day classrooms as is in the 3 towns, 1 district half-day program. So there'd be 1 centralized program for families who are interested in a half-day instead of 1 in each town, and then the special ed pre-K. I don't know if Melissa, you want to talk a little bit about that?
All right, I'm going to give you guys like a 30-second IDEA crash course so that we all have the same structure. So IDEA is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It's divided into 4 parts. Part A and Part D are more sort of structural and definitions. B and C are what really focus on services for students. So Part B is focusing on students aged 3 to 22. Part C is birth to age 3. Our current structure in Maine is Part B. CDS handles age 3 to 5, and then we handle from 5 to 22nd birthday in our setting. Last year, legislation was passed that the responsibility for FAPE and Child Find would be transitioning from CDS to local SAUs as of July 1st, 2028. So what this means for special education is we will be required to provide and collaborate for services for all students that have an IEP starting July 1st, 2028. CDS is moving to a regional service hub model where they will be a supporting agency to local SAUs, but that FAPE and Child Find responsibility is shifting to us. In order to prepare for the transition, I want to explore having a special education classroom next year. This year we had some families who had students with IEPs and with some more extended needs that we were not able to service in a public preschool setting, and that CDS wasn't able to support servicing in our preschool settings. So my hope is that by opening a small pre-K classroom for all of our, housed in one spot for all of our students to be eligible into, that we can start to sort of explore what this responsibility is going to be, and we can start as a special education department preparing in small ways to take on that responsibility of Child Find and FAPE without diving into taking it all on at once. I am worried that if we wait until the deadline and just say like, we're not gonna just really get into this until we are mandated and required to. One, that happens during the summer, that we become responsible for everything when we know that staff is away and sort of schools are in a more relaxed state. And then 2, we have 60 plus at my last count kids. I think we're probably closer to the 80 count of 3 to 5-year-olds that we typically have in that category through CDS that we need to prepare services for. So the goal of having sort of a pilot preschool classroom would really help us figure out what resources do we need, how are we entering an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding with CDS and the DOE around fiscal responsibilities related to that. The legislation does have language in there that states that the DOE and CDS will maintain fiscal responsibility for these students. And then it's up to us to sort of work with them to follow through on the responsibilities that they are fiscally backing us for. I think we've been excited and nervous as a group to think about bringing on the 3 to 5 year olds. It's something that we don't have a lot of experience with as a department, and it feels like bringing in 8 students next year is a good way for us to really gauge on a small scale what we would need to really ramp up to a large scale by the time we're required to. Okay. Do you guys have questions?
Yeah, questions about that? Yeah.
Are you saying they cover the cost of this?
Written into, so yes, is the short answer. I need to get clarity about exactly what we can and can't put into an MOU, but all of the special education related costs, CDS is covering. I think there are questions about like if we need furniture and curriculum and those kind of things that I want to explore further.
Yes.
So I think I heard you correctly, there are like 60 plus kids, 3 through 5, that'd be when you want 8 openings. Can you talk about that?
So this would be like a functional classroom. So we certainly now have kids in preschool in our 3 programs that have IEPs. They're already there. They don't require the more restricted classroom setting with a special educator, speech provider, OT, PT, those kind of things. So this would really be for those students that like K to 12 would be our functional life skills students that are in a more self-contained setting.
Yeah. So would the 8 cover the need, or would there be kids who are needing functional life skills who would not receive services with a classroom video?
It is hard to know that at this moment, mostly because we have kids at the 3 and 4 year old level that are either home getting unserviced right now. So it's hard for us to gauge what level of service they would need, or they're in special purpose placements that we might be able to bring in. My rough guess is 8 would cover what we would need, and maybe 10. But typically, if I look at what the kindergarten life skills enrollment is year to year, 8 to 10 is roughly what we're bringing in. So mirroring that for preschool seems like a reasonable way to estimate.
Well, and it's a pilot. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have, like for space reason, do you need another classroom for these 8? Are they going to be able to incorporate into the other classrooms, or can they go into the life skills classroom?
We would look at using, we would look for the pilot portion at having them in a preschool classroom of their own, so like a self-contained preschool classroom. And I don't have Tina here. We do have classroom space at Hussey that we would be able to use for that purpose.
So this, this would be one classroom in the pilot for the district.
Yes.
FAPE sort of requires them to be in a classroom with other children as well, not isolated, right? Like, is that part of the FAPE?
FAPE requires a free, appropriate public education as determined by the IEP team. We have students that come to us where the IEP team determines that the least restrictive environment to meet their needs is a self-contained or special education environment. So for the vast majority of special education students, we're really working on how are we getting them integrated and how much, let's maximize the time they're spending in classrooms. But we do have students where FAPE for them means a self-contained classroom.
If I'm mathing correctly, so this is going to be required July 1st, 2028. We have between now and then 2 school years. Is there any benefit while researching the details about what we would get for reimbursement, how this would truly work. More details, possibly more resources from the state, who knows, of not doing it this coming year, but doing it the next year. So we do have a year under our belts before it's required, but also giving us time to fully research and figure out.
I think there's two layers to this FAPE requirement coming to us. There's the layer of what do we do with these students who need this very intensive programming? And then what do we do with the 50 or so other kids who need speech a couple times a week, or they need OT, PT, and how are we going to meet those needs as well? And so I was looking at it at how do we start with that most intense population first, year one, how do we get those kids sort of in and start planning for that before we have to expand down to 3-year-old, like start with who are our 4-year-olds, how do we do that? And then the following year, expand down to 3-year-olds because we'll be required to provide FAPE for 3-year-olds. And then year 2, how do we start doing, whether it's like almost like a clinic-based, or do we have kids that they come in, they receive their services all in a morning a week? I think there's a lot of these pieces to figure out. And I worry if we wait to put all the pieces, like if we start waiting to put them all into place a year before we're required to be 100% ready, that we're not giving ourselves enough time.
Makes sense. Are these all just life skills kiddos that would be in this 8 kiddo classroom, or is it big life skills and behavior kiddos, like with IEPs? Or
we would really be, it's tricky because at the CDS level, they don't sort of distinguish it the way that we do with our programming here. But my goal for this is those kids that need a high level of support, those kids that need that more restrictive setting, whether that be life skills, autism spectrum, developmental delay, that we sort of have a place to start that programming.
Thank you. How many staff members are you anticipating needing to hire for this?
I think 1 special education teacher slash case manager, and then 2, possibly 3 ed techs, depending on the level of need. We're also in the process, just because budget season is already upon us, of looking at our overall special education numbers. My hope is the related services for that classroom, we can just absorb into services that are happening at Hudson School anyway, because the number is low. If we can't, and my worry is that we'll need another speech provider in general, regardless of whether or not we take this classroom. My worry is we're going to need another speech provider. My hope is that if we do bring another related service provider on board, we can start exploring that option of providing some CDS-based services and build them for it to help.
Can you clarify for me, your current pre-K students, are they receiving PT, OT, speech, any of those things currently?
Not by us.
So they are getting it through CDS outside of school?
Or when CDS has people available, they'll send them to school. But the reality is we have a portion of kids that have IEPs that are not being serviced.
Good.
I mean, if it was just up to me and there were no financial responsibilities attached, I would say, give me one of each and let's do it all. But I think we have to be exploring how we do this.
So that's news to me. So I was thinking if we had any kids in our we have kids with IEPs in our pre-K classrooms right now, true, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was under the assumption, because they were in our pre-K classrooms, that they were receiving their services.
Not through the special education department. So we have kids that are receiving.
Oh crap, that's real?
Yeah.
Well,
We know,
they're
like-
still, it's a partnership with CDS still, that's the thing, they're still
As
under the.
available, they're not getting it as much as their IEP calls for,
Mhm.
right? That's a
For some
that's a
students, yeah.
huge concern
So-
for me.
And to follow that up, that's one of the things, is that a lot of families are being told, unless their kid is in a full public setting or something like a larger program, they can't be seen. So by having the pre-K, they're in a program to increase their chances to be seen. It doesn't mean that everyone is being seen, but it is increasing their chance, I believe. I mean, that's my experience with
That's so sad.
Learn and Hurt.
And part of the issue is we are at such capacity that being able to push into a preschool program isn't something that they have capacity to work at the moment.
Ally needs to sign off, but I think you have something you wanted to comment on, Ally?
I just want to note that I would like to vote in favor of continuing pre-K for full days as they were recommended. I'm so sorry that I have to sign off, but unavoidable tonight. I'm sorry, but thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Ally.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, let's turn this off. Yeah.
For the most part. So
Services?
the kindergartners? Yes. Yeah, all of our kindergartners.
Wearing the student.
So we say 3 to 5, but it really is as soon as they register for kindergarten and they're enrolled with us, they become ours. So we have some kids that are 4 years, 11 months, they're ours because they're enrolled in school, they started kindergarten. And then, we're not.
And CBS does not provide OTBT speech every other schools.
They do as they have providers available. So it's not that they never have it, it's just that CBS is experiencing like 8-month-long wait lists for some services and providers. And we have some situations where kids, it takes 6 months to get evaluations done. So I am excited that we are going to get into this because I will say my staff is very fast. They are, we are quick, we are responsive, they are excellent at following through on services and everything we support students with disabilities really well. K to age 22. I want us to start dipping into that lower level before we're mandated so that we can continue to support them as well as we do at the upper levels.
So the state is going to mandate that the schools pay, provide the services.
But they're going to pay for it.
They're going to provide the services for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. Because they already provide the services for 5-year-olds in school. But they don't have the staffing to do it, so they're going to pay the public staff to do it. No.
We don't.
I really
The salary benefits package in public school system is better than what CBS provides. That's why.
We don't know that yet, because we don't have. Well, and the other thing is, it sounds to me like you're gonna lose 3-year-olds, which is, because they're gonna have services. So are we prepared to set up a 3-year-old program here? And within the next 3 years?
We're gonna have to be.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, that's the answer. It's part of why I'm here tonight is because we got some stuff we got to figure out. Can I?
I sort of read with the faith and the economic CDS that we don't have to provide the care, we just have to coordinate the care, right? So, because we're taking over for CDS, which coordinates the care, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to provide the care.
We become responsible for child find and feed. And so
It doesn't have to be.
we could certainly say, okay, we're gonna have our providers, instead of bringing kids in, we'll have them fan out to any of the area places that our students might be who need services. Having talked to some directors who do some of that model, they have service providers that are spending more time on travel than they are with kids because they're having to coordinate going to multiple sites. And it might be that I can see this kid on Monday, but I have to go back to that site Tuesday because that's the date that the different kid I need to see is with attendance.
But it doesn't have to be our speech therapist to provide services.
No, but we would need to find the speech therapist who would provide that service if they're doing it in the field.
But it doesn't have to be our speech therapist to go out.
No.
Okay.
But.
Because it works, like if they're in the school setting, we have a speech therapist there, it works for the best. I'm just saying that's how I read it as, we take over CBS, we might have 3 kids at speech therapists before school. and they provide the coordination of getting that service, but we don't have to technically provide.
We are responsible when we take over date,
Right, yeah.
but if that service is not provided, we are responsible for not following that IEP, and we are responsible for denying fee. And so I think that's where it gets tricky, that no, it does not have to be our internal provider. But also, I have much more ability to look at an internal provider and say, I need you to go to that site on that day, than contracting out and getting, like, it's just when they are your employee and part of your system, there's a little more ability to dictate. I don't think we are realistically going to meet the need of every single student with an IEP without doing some contracting, without doing some collaboration. I don't think this is a situation where we say, okay, everything we're doing in-house. But I think there's a vast amount that we could be doing in-house. And I think we open up the possibility of more students in pre-K if we have special education services happening in-house as well.
I assume that we discuss this stuff with other districts. Have we talked to New Hampshire, who've been doing this for years?
Have you talked to New Hampshire yet?
No, I've talked mostly to Cohort 1 and 2 districts in Maine.
I highly recommend that you reach out to some who I know of, some in Rochester, Farmington, they've all been doing this for years. Yeah, it's a great program. So it's
Absolutely.
Great, yeah. I don't know about the CDS paying for the, but I know we provided services for these kids 3 years old, 4 years old, and right on up through, so both those districts. I said, Farmington, he was one of the first ones to do it, to try to anything else, so just saying. Good places, we might get some information, I forgot all, I know they did it, they did well.
Thinking additional staff, talking about that classroom teacher possibly 2 to 3 days text, so it also sounds like we would need specialized staff as well. Speech, OT, PT, we need to add that, because what I think I heard you said is that the staff right now are not able to provide that service because they don't have really what schedules to do. That's why we're relying on CDS. Am I misunderstanding you?
No, so you're not. So I think there's a potential that we're going to need to add a speech therapist regardless of what we do with a pre-K classroom, because our speech numbers are high and the need is high. If we are only talking about doing this pilot and adding 8 students, the likelihood of all 8 or 10 students needing PT, OT, and speech is pretty low. Typically, there's a mixture in there. We would have the capacity to pick up a handful of students in this pilot with current staffing in place. Speech aside. Not sure that's making sense. I don't.
It is, I'm just, I understand that screen time has been a major contributor to current speech problems, and we're seeing numbers for little speech, and you're certainly seeing it, we're seeing it in our district, it's seen all over. And so, I think if incoming pre-K classes, we're just gonna see more speech issues happening. So our current numbers, I can only project that they're going to increase, I don't see them decreasing, right? So, I think of next year's pre-K, should we move forward, well, that's gonna have more speech issues, and then if we're bringing in significantly disabled students, it's likely that they're gonna have some pretty significant needs that we're gonna have to provide for. It's just, yeah, it's a lot. And then, the other thing we haven't talked about is these students will need transportation. Specialized transportation, which is not again, tax on transportation, because there's a lot there.
We do have IEP, students with IEPs who are moving between buildings. And so we do have situations where we're busing Berwick, North Berwick out to Lebanon, or we're busing Lebanon into Berwick, North Berwick. So special ed is the place where transportation gets really wonky.
I wonder if we have the space on the current special ed buses to add, we don't even know where they're coming from, right? And that's actually.
So, and I think part of this is, I don't know, I will tell you honestly, Josh, interest from the special education students in pre-K was lower than I expected for this pilot year. And my concern is part of that is because we don't have a special education program in place, or part of it might be because parents are meeting their kids' needs in another way. It might be that, you know, we say, hey, we're gonna try for 8 and 4 families sign up. It might be we're gonna try for 8 and 12 families sign up. I think I'm not even positive how much interest there is because this isn't mandatory. This is all for parents, it's all.
Is there a way to find that out before we make a decision? Like, is there a way that, do we have a database? How do we find where these students are? Is it, are we notified by hospitals or pediatricians or something like that?
So CDS keeps their, all their information, and we have access to that system. We have a spreadsheet of who all the kids are.
We could potentially contact those families and ask them directly?
I think so. I think what we could do, and then this is where I need to get a little more information, is go through the CDS case manager and say, okay, can you help us support doing a survey for the families with upcoming 4-year-olds and their interest in a specialized pre-K program with the district?
It seems to me that, excuse me, that we have two things here to consider. One is a brand new pilot program for special ed students. And do we want to continue with the pre-K program? So I'm wondering if we want to uncouple the two things. Thoughts?
Yeah, that was my question is, do we need to decide on that tonight or can we see the actual budget impact to, I mean, I think it's great. I love the idea of it, but I do want to also see the projected budget impact of the program and starting it now. That's my 2 cents first. And yeah, I forget, I feel like there's just separate conversations.
So I'll tell you this, I think I sprang this on student object 2 weeks ago. Hey, so this is very early days, and the goal of coming and talking to you about it tonight is so that I can gather what are all the questions, can we do a survey of the parents? Can we look at the budget? I want to talk to other districts about what their MOUs look like and what that reality is for them when they have these MOUs and are providing those services. And so for me, this is very early in the process. I'm happy to come back with more information.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? You've given us a lot to think about. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna write down my takeaways before I leave here, or
okay. They walk away, don't they? They're not takeaways. Thank you.
Do you want a motion on pre-K without the special ed? So I guess I would make a motion that we move forward with pre-K. I would say option 3, okay, as it is. Or I guess option 1 is since we've separated them.
Just to clarify, option 3 is missing those extra 20 kids to add a half day, a centralized half day.
Oh, that's true.
Right? So that would service 116 kids instead of 96.
Yeah, option 1 would be as is, and then separating out what little presented, but move it forward with the
Okay.
to last organization.
Okay, no, it's just not on here.
Right, option 3, yeah.
Do we need to, can we vote on a minimum of continuing, not continuing as is and looking at costs? Because I think one of the questions too was if we did a half day, what was the subsidy? Do we still get the same subsidy reimbursement?
Right.
I feel like there's another question or two that we tested.
I think it's a 2-step. I think we have to agree to or disagree on if we're having pre-K. And then the second step is how does that look? Because that's different, right? Like if we're gonna say no to pre-K, we don't have to do the extra work just to see how much it costs because we're not gonna follow. So I think we need to say yes or no for the pre-K, and then our next step is what does it look like? And then we can decide that budgeting.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I was just thinking of questions that we had last week.
No,
that we were
that's how
getting
I'm
to
thinking
tonight.
of it.
But I
That
think
makes sense. That
we
makes
could even
sense.
do, I mean, I would like to keep the full days in place that we have. So I would make that motion and then we could do, I agree
With
with
the-
that, if we want to
Further
add.
discussion to add further programs or offerings.
Right.
Nancy?
I just want, before we, concerned about voting, because I don't think we have all the answers yet. We certainly don't know where we're going to put third grade over at Hanson School, if we maintain pre-K over there. I mean, that's gonna cost them a lot of money to find a place. I assume we have to purchase a modular.
We have Carmen Carpenter, our principal. Do you want to talk about adding, if we were to keep the 2 pre-K classrooms, what you're thinking of for third grade currently?
Well, it's currently going to keep third grade in the Hanson building. My hope was modular could sit close to where telephone pole and some dumpsters there, but that's really close to how it could hook up to, if it needs to get hooked up to our septic right there. That's where I would have that.
And we're talking a modular.
A modular, yes.
And if we don't have a modular, you would just use an existing classroom that's maybe a special, and that specialist would be on a cart,
Yes.
and then that classroom would be
I would have
used.
to put one of my
Yes.
teachers a special on a cart because I wouldn't have another classroom space. So for next year, I already need an extra third grade classroom. So my current status is fine. Next year, because I need 4 sections, that's what I need to be able to do.
And who's looking on the card?
You haven't quite made that decision yet.
Gotta look at it. Right.
They're saying.
I talked to her, but yes.
And then we have the issue of, we heard today and we heard last week and the week before on pre-K is and what a great benefit it is to these kids. But we're still bringing in a caste system of 90 haves and 100 have-nots. And how are we going to address that in kindergarten? It is a real problem.
So, did you say that Kennebunk has done this for a number of years?
Marshwood.
Marshwood, okay. And they do it by lottery, similar to us?
No, so Marshwood is universal
Yes.
pre-K and has been for 20 years.
Oh, it has been.
So that's just their way, they've just been a habit with a half-day
They do
program.
have
Yep.
that day. And they're trying to move to full day.
Yeah.
The full day, half-day piece of it is not so much my concern, is the 90.
Yep.
110.
Yep, understood.
That
So,
is a huge discrepancy. We heard, and starting with Christine,
mhm,
who just said what a great program is and how well these kids are doing, how much they're benefiting, and how much they're going to be ready for kindergarten.
mhm,
90 kids,
Mhm.
ready.
mhm.
What happens to the 100 who are not?
That's right. And so
they're
Nancy,
not going to be ready because they
Right.
are still on the screen.
Is
Or-
parents even sign up? I was going to say last year when we put up the application, we do not have a waiting list right now.
Right.
And we are not full.
Right.
So, and we pushed it out and pushed it out. So like everyone who wanted this program, besides some rare occasions with special ed needs, is in this program.
And so I think, wasn't the understanding that we were trying not to overly impact the private situation? So, right.
and the reality of it is that you can, we have many folks around us, Sanford, there's quite a few that don't provide universal pre-K, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't provide it to those that can be here. So like, yes, does it create haves and have-nots? I suppose if you put it that way, yes. But where do you move forward? And that's like, we just have to, like, we're doing it.
Well, the rest of it, let's figure out how we can do all of them.
Thank you.
And I think that would be our long-term goal.
Right. Yeah.
Universal is, yes.
And I think the lottery that we did kind of address the have and have nots because we had a weighted system, right? For SES or special ed, to try to balance what our current classroom living.
I'm talking about the kids going into kindergarten, but the board, because they already know this and once they're exposed to any of it, they still have to learn how to read
left to right,
Mhm.
left to right, work, like how to turn pages, and how to, or just the basic skills that they've not supposed to, unless they're in a pre-K program, private pre-K program that actually teaches this, and I don't know that they do or not, I'm certainly believing on that, but we need to be aware of that issue.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but we can't force parents to sign their kids up for pre-K. Right now, they're not signing their kids up for pre-K. We don't have a wait list. So no matter what we do, even if we go to half day, we are not guaranteed that we're getting those kids because we can't force parents to send their kids to pre-K if they don't want to.
And I think a lot of the parents are already using private places that are working for them and they can afford to, and we're addressing the have-nots, and I can speak for my daughter, couldn't afford to do that, couldn't have gone to work if we weren't offering that.
We're not talking about the have-nots and around in school, we're talking about the kindergarten kids that have an education and the ones that don't, and they tend to stay that way for a number of years until you can pull them back together. And you listen to kindergarten, first grade teachers complaining about kindergarten, where some kids have kindergarten and some did not, and how do we pull them together? Huge complaints.
So, but so you're saying then, don't offer it at all? If you can't offer it for all?
Everybody in. But when you got you know, 6 or 7 kids or half, whatever, if they're all there, sell it, make it work. I'm just saying.
I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
Offers everybody.
I think one of,
It is
I would put
offered
in
to
my,
everybody, though.
Sure. I would put in my 2 cents of just saying, you know, what was offered to our community was a pilot. Right? And all due respect, talk about rush decisions. I remember last year and how rushed it was and how we had no say in how that program was going to be set up and run as a board. It was either yes or no. That was it, because that's what the grant said. Right? We actually have a chance to have a say. We have a chance to offer it legitimately to every single kid in this district. And we have a chance to offer it to every kid with disabilities. We do not have that opportunity if it's full day. We don't have the space. We know this. And we're not going to have the space in the short-term future. The only way to actually legitimately offer it to every single kid, special needs or not, is if we do half-day programs. And I would love to see us offer that. And then for the kids who have that disability, for them to stay, if they come in the morning, get their services in the afternoon. How great would that be? Because then they're getting pre-K plus their services, which is ideal in special ed. The more time is exactly what you want, not substitute time, right? And the reality is it does help our private providers because, yes, kids can't just do, a half day. They need to be somewhere for the other half of the day. That helps our private providers very much so, right? That we're not taking the kid for the full day, we're taking them for a half day. And certainly we can provide transportation in the middle of the day because our buses typically don't run in the middle of the day. I think for the short term where we're at, because where we are spacing, half day is the universal option. It is the full day does not offer universal pre-K. So we're having a choice between universal pre-K, which we half day, or not universal pre-K.
I've worked with Zoom to know more than teachers who are teaching it. I'm not there. I don't think I know better than you do. And I will say for people I know that are currently in the pre-K program, still can't afford for the other half day. So that would take away that option of working for my daughter. She wouldn't be in either. She wouldn't be sending her child there or be able to go to work. So
I also want to say that as much as I respect our private providers in the community, it's not our job as a school district to make sure that they have business. They're in business, they made a choice, and we're in the business of public education.
And I think we're not talking apples and apples. If I'm understanding correctly, you're speaking about daycare providers missing out on income, not preschool providers missing out on income. Like if we do half day, then it's daycare providers who would be getting income, which we're having a preschool conversation, not a daycare conversation.
I'm not aware of any daycare preschool provider that doesn't provide preschool daycare.
Multiple, yeah.
There you go. Right?
It only does preschool.
All the.
So that's good information to have. I still think to me it's a choice between universal and not. And I would like to see, if we're going to offer pre-K, 30 years ago? Was it 30 years ago? Or maybe it was a little bit longer, 30 years ago. The choice was offer kindergarten, right? That was the change, right? Everyone had to attend first grade, but it was going universal to kindergarten. we initially did universal kindergarten, half day, because that's what we could provide for all students. And eventually it transitioned to full day kindergarten. We weren't there to start. And I think if we're honest about our facilities and honest about our offerings, let's do it universally. And the only way to do it universally is to offer half day. That's just where I'm at.
Why can't we transition, sorry, go from like 2 full day and then in 5 years, 4 full day? Why can't we start with 2 full day with 90 kids and then go in 5 years when we have the space? So
Because for me, right, it creates a caste system of which I am just adamantly opposed to. The have and have nots. And I don't think public education should be in the space of acknowledging, saying, we have this much space and that's it. There's a limit, we can't do it. We can't. If more people want to, if we said, well, it's not a pilot program anymore, it's legitimate MSAB 60 pre-K, you might end up with more people knowing it, especially if you set up the system and they say, okay, this is what's going to be for every year. There's probably more interest in that. People can plan for it. They know it's going to happen. They make the adjustments. We know we can't offer that in a full day system. And I would hate to be in the situation where we say, well, we have 120 kids really interested in full day and we can't provide it. Good luck. I won't do that to a family. I will not vote to do that to a family potentially. The vote for me is half day universally, because then anyone who truly wants it can do it.
I think this is 100% parent choice. If I was up to have a public preschool, I would say no for my family. Because I love Miss Karen and wanted that happening. That's me. Other parents have that same option. They go homeschool their child because they didn't have that option as a parent choice. It's all parent choice. So we give them 2 full days per town. That is that parent's choice. They could choose to put their little one on the bus. They could choose not to, or they could choose to do a private preschool.
But you're still not getting to the point of universal.
Eventually. So we do have like,
But at this point, if you're doing 2 full days, you have a limit. And there are space constraints in those schools.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you're still saying you can come, but you can't.
Because not everyone's going to choose it.
Well, and not everybody's gonna choose it, but out of that 100 that weren't chosen, how many of those may be interested? Then we would have a wait list.
There weren't any.
But again, it was a pilot. It was communicated as a pilot too. Like it's new, and I just think play it 3 years forward, right? It's going extremely well. Like we've only heard good reports, right? I mean, so you would think that all that good information is going to people are going to be like, wow, man, that's great. I want my kid. Like the numbers now are not going to be the same numbers in 3 years. But as good as as great as the preschool teachers are doing, like that's awesome. Celebrating that, that's fantastic. That's a good problem to have. But just look at the consequences of being good. You're going to have more numbers.
But you're saying have a half day. What we're hearing is success for a whole day. So you're going in the opposite direction the teachers are talking about and assuming we're gonna have the same results. And I can't make that assumption.
I would be 100% on board with what you're saying. If next year our wait list is huge and we are seeing the need for more openings for students. We're not there yet.
And I would go full day
We
still.
struggled, if I understand is we struggled to fill those spots for every school in the
They're not
district.
filled.
They're not filled. They went through the wait list. There is currently no wait list. So I understand what you're saying. I would love for universal pre-K. I just don't see the need right now. So I think that we've done an amazing job with this program. Let's just do it one more year the way they've been doing it. And then they get more experience under their belt. And then we see, are we building a need? There's no harm in that. There's no harm in it.
We do know that there are families who would not send their kid to a full day program. We're told that. That if we offer a half day program, they would have signed up. So there's people in both crowds.
I will say I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I said I would have, but I don't know that I would have done a public pre-K either. I just would not have done a full thing for my child, for my third child. My first two would have been fine. My third, not so sure.
not so much.
I have a question
Yeah.
about what the theory behind if there is any kind of half-day program, to only having 10 kid per section when we're having a 16 kid per section for the whole day.
Just estimating, we didn't think we would get many extended long amount.
So there would
32.
be.
There could be.
There could be,
Yes.
there could be.
Okay, I didn't know.
Mhm.
I was just, no, I just didn't know if it was different programming thoughts or like what the.
Well, I would say that with the half-day crunch that does happen with, bringing them in, bringing them out, bringing them in, bringing them out, less is more in terms of like having 10 students to move through the day or the half-day quickly. It does make sense, but we could do up to 16 for sure. So I'm kind of tickled that you guys are having a fight about half-day versus full-day pre-K. That I'm I'm really happy about that because I feel like we're making some good. Well, I don't mean it that way, but it's an acknowledgement that it's a benefit and it's done well, and so I feel like the teachers that are here can take a deep breath and say, "Yep, at least we're going to be thinking about moving forward." We did talk about a 5-year plan for universal pre-K. We've just been mapping it out. I'll give you an initial, this is a really initial draft of a 5-year plan because we do try to be forward thinking and think about these things. It's not something we do. Yeah, sure.
Plus, I don't know if we know one, but I think I heard people saying that they couldn't send their kids to all the PK that there was no after in their devoted to the classroom. So that possibly they can they can get the PK program because they need to, and that's one of the reasons that we don't have a full program. Another reason could be so much after positions where they know they're going to have to go to the daycare service. You might find people more willing to do the half day because they are going to have to go to daycare.
Yep.
They are work. And I do agree with you. I don't remember you did the need to do not sending kids to full day or whatever, but I also don't feel that it's up to the district to favor the daycare portion of pre-K so that people can go to work. That's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to support my kids. It's not my responsibility as a school board member to advocate for people to go to work. That's just.
Do we need to vote on a specific, or can we vote that we do want to continue?
Pre-K, just not sure how to do it.
Take the time.
Yeah, I think for the reality, I think it would be important for us to be able to vote tonight, or you to be able to vote tonight, that you're going to at least take the recommendation that we continue the pre-K program. And then we can talk about these other aspects of it. I do believe there is a compromise to be made in terms of looking at we had suggested a potential one classroom that has, half-day programming so that it meets the needs for people. I don't necessarily, equity is an issue with that, but I'm going to struggle with someone telling me that it's not okay for this district to provide more in terms of allowing full days and full robust programming for our kids. If that is what they want, and then if a family is more inclined to do the half-day piece because that is what they need, why are we not thinking about allowing that as well? So that's a philosophical conversation that you guys can have. But in our thought to a universal pre-K program, we kind of talked some of this through. It's this very cursory. This is not like a detailed next steps because we just wanted to let you know, we actually do think about these things pretty thoroughly.
And we also thought about when we were working with the grant and working with the state, we weighed both considerations.
Yeah.
And the recommendation has been primarily because of what you heard from what our teachers are finding about the full day.
Yep.
That's why we went in that. It wasn't a willy-nilly decision to say, oh, let's have full day. I mean, there were reasons behind every portion of that grant, and everything that we have done since that time has been thought out.
Yep. And we had a really great visit from the state, and they just sent their preliminary reports on the things that we're doing, and they're very positive. So they feel like we're kind of hitting it out of the park with it. So I want to take advantage of what we are doing well. I have to step out for a minute.
We read this and talk about this one.
Sure. This is, as I said, this is very initial drafty.
and we wanted you to see that we are thinking ahead.
That's fine.
What was Ally's? She said she wanted to.
She voted in favor of pre-K.
And
As
full
it-
day.
as it-
Just as
As
She said as it is,
So I would like to make that motion, that we move forward with what we have, and then we continue the conversation about adding half day and the special ed portion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
So just confirming, we're continuing with the program that we have in place with room for further discussion.
About adding the other two pieces.
I will second that.
We have a motion to continue pre-K as is in the pilot and further discussion for additional half-day and special ed. Amy has been seconded. All those in favor of the motion? I'm sorry, discussion?
Yeah. I know this will go through. The reason I was willing to have discussion, Sue is tickled, is because I know as a minority member of this board, I have no say. I have no say. It's going to go through. My one hope is I was able to convince the board to realize that if we're going to offer pre-K, we should offer a structure for the future, not just next year, for the future that would be universally available to everyone. That was my one hope. And now the motion on the floor just dashes that too. Yeah, anyway, okay.
Any further discussion or questions for Josh or others?
Can I just, I'm curious, what motion would make you happy? I'm just curious. Is it, we only, only motion you'll accept is that we move towards half day?
Universal half day, because it's universally advised to everyone has the same opportunity. I know that that's going to be challenges for families, sure. Not having pre-K at all is the greatest challenge. We acknowledged that last year. This is a step. A universal half-day program would be a step in the positive direction. It doesn't have to be the final step, but we know we don't have the space. We are talking about facilities. It can be part of the discussion going forward, and we can transition to, we can plan it out well. I just think that this is the wrong step to make. That's our step.
You are having a say, but so are our teachers, and I think some of us are choosing to listen to them and feel that full day is important. I'll live my.
You hit the motion.
Yeah, so I'm making a motion that we continue the program as it is with 2 full days, and then continue the conversation about adding 2 half-day sessions at Hussey, whatever.
That would be Hussey.
And then the special ed sections as well.
Are we ready to take a vote? All those in favor of the motion?
Okay.
Opposed?
Unopposed?
And the motion is passed.
Yeah.
Sure.
I apologize. I just need to run out and take care of that.
Thank you all.
Yes, there's been a request to just take a 5-minute break before we move into the facilities, Lebanon Elementary. So there were several questions that came up.
Do we need the other handout?
No, it's in the back of this form. The ones that we recollected, that we sent out yesterday, that we recollected are in the back of this document.
So it's there for you.
So it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. So there were several questions last meeting when we talked about Lebanon Elementary School. Thank you for your patience as we went through most of our agenda. We do have a couple questions that came up about moving the 4th grade to Lebanon Elementary for next year, which we will talk about later, but Neil is here. And the biggest question is, what is the difference between the Harriman study and the all the quotes that came in about Lebanon Elementary for the Harriman study, and how does that differ from civil consultants? So Neil is here to go through some of that to provide clarity for us about those differences.
Now, Dr. Stanley, one of the civil consultants, the basic difference between the cost estimates that were generated from our office and from Harriman, we did do more of a more of a kind of high-level bird's eye view evaluation of the schools. We were not, my practice to do a full assessment. Harriman came through and did, I said, it's much more intense investigation of all the schools in the district. Back in 2018, we had to evaluate the school for recommendations on what should be upgraded, trying to bring that up to, at least close to current standards, if not current, code requirements. And then in 2022, we reevaluated to see what it would take to bring it up to the 2021 MUBEC requirements, which was the main universal building code requirements. Which is a little more intense, and that's what we use to generate these initial cost estimates. Full disclosure, I have not read any of the Harriman report beyond just the list of estimates that we were given. I just did try to get that as a comparison to what we put together. If you're looking at the Lebanon Elementary renovation cost Harriman spreadsheet that's at the back of that report. What we did was we took all the items that specifically were addressing the Lebanon school, and then we also included up at the top some of the CIP items that didn't have a cost associated with them with the Harriman report, which were HVAC, heating, new boiler work, and the windows. It looks like they assumed that the windows could be reinstalled. Our assessment was going under the assumption that they'd have to be replaced. Their reports of drafts from the windows, inefficiencies. They were installed, turn of the century, so we thought those would probably be replaced. The other portion of it was there were differences in what we both assumed would need to be done. They had a consideration for security vestibules, some of the safety upgrades, where we were just kind of focusing on high-level code upgrades to the buildings. So when we broke everything down, and you look at the second page there, that spreadsheet indicates items that were included in the Harriman estimate in the highlighted sections. And then to those we added in the extra items that Harriman had, which was that security portion of it. And they actually, the estimates came in fairly close. It's 1.41 compared to ours, compared to Harriman's, which is 1.53. So we're in the same ballpark. It's just that we took it a step further and kind of looked at everything in the school that we thought we would recommend to be upgraded. So if you're looking through that, the civil consultant's renovation costs, you'll see items that are, foundation stabilization and slabs. Of course, slabs, sloping them in the hallways and classrooms. So that'd be kind of rehabbing that, getting contractors in there to level everything out and everything that's associated with that. Site work, there's no real site work addressed as far as I can tell with the Harriman estimate. As I said, I don't have that full report, but we included, something in there to even out the playground, try to create more stable areas outside for recreation and safety. Some of the things, the asbestos, that was more of a generic. We don't know that the entire school has been rehabbed from any asbestos materials. Flooring, things like that have been done, but we did want to account for something in case that had to be addressed at some point in school. A lot of the other portions of it are larger items that we thought should be included. The HVAC, facilities HVAC, mechanicals, ducts, things like that, that would have to be addressed to get bring the building up to current codes and efficiencies, which is one of the big issues with that building being so old and inefficient. So we did have a large number for contingencies. which is, basically the pulling the thread fund where you're working on an old building like this, you get to a certain point and it just keeps uncovering a problem after problem and you're trying to chase it. We're trying to, when we put together this, this number initially, we want to make sure everything is covered and beyond, as opposed to trying to undersell and say, oh, you can do it for this, and things are going to come up. So we do have a large contingency on there. If in a typical project, I probably would leave a smaller contingency, but since there are so many unknowns, we kept that in there just for safety's sake. That's the major changes or differences in the valuation of the school. And then we also included a fairly large number for temporary classroom rental and usage for an extended period of time while the building was being renovated. So that may be an item that's maybe a moot point at this point.
Here.
And again, I would have had more materials to present and show. Just found out that coming here just present kind of differences in the costs just on Tuesday. So don't have a whole lot of background info with me, but I'll answer questions as best I can.
Thank you. I have a question. So the number, I'm not an expert, the number for the foundation stabilization looks kind of low to me, given the structural kind of damage that we saw in both the photographs and in our tour of the school.
And again, a lot of this was done with just what we've seen in the past and kind of scaled up to what we think would need to be done here. There haven't been any geotechnical testing done for it to try and see what would need to be done if they could do like a grout injection to fix everything. If they had to be heel piers drilled to level up some of the foundations. So we basically took, we said, okay, these 4 areas would likely have to be remedied, and then we took a practical value that we've seen in similar situations. This, luckily for our estimating purposes, it's not that much different than a residential foundation, since it's just a 1-story, and we could kind of get a fairly good judgment on that. But yes, it's, again, one of the reasons we put that big contingency on there. Is that you get in there and you start excavating and figure something out, say, oh, it's completely undermined in this corner of the building. You're tacking on 100,000, what your initial estimate was. Well, it's.
Thank you.
So if this work was done, what would the life of this building be transformed into?
It's a good question, because I know it's important for budgeting purposes. Our general rule of thumb is if we're rehabbing a building like this, it's going to give it, we try to give it at least another 25 years. It's really hard to say, because if you do something like that, you're basically assuming that everything under the foundation is fine, everything under the slabs, and everything under, all the mechanicals are going to hold up. So it's the more money you put into a building, as you go, you can keep it going for a long time. It's the quality of the building and the efficiency of the building is really what ends up, pushing a lot of buildings out of service. Once you're, like you said, you're putting a whole lot of money into a building that's don't get the return out of it. It's not something that's giving you back what you're putting into it. A lot of times it ends up being, all we do is we put together the cost is what it's going to take to bring it here. You can't guarantee it's going to last that long or perform, do what you need for that long, but it will survive. That's kind of what our point of the exercise is.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
On, I don't know. This page.
Yep.
And Kevin, maybe you can relate. None of this work has happened in our bill, because this originally was done in 2018, and you've gone through it. None of this has been done to the building?
No, other than some asbestos removal, gym area, ceiling, gym area, but nothing, none of the big items, no.
The mechanical in the basement,
No,
what's that?
it's just steamy.
Steam bunker? So it's a new boiler, is that what that is, that mechanical in the basement, is that a whole new boiler system?
That'd be gutting
That's
that.
gutting the entire system.
Bring all that up right now,
All
yeah.
brand new.
It's all just, it's the steam heat, I'm not sure what everything going in. There'd be new water treatment, there'd be new heat, all the duct work, all the plumbing down there, basically right down to bare concrete down there. And also, we'd have to bring up, not sure if that's in that item or not, but the system down there is currently flooded regularly, so we'd be trying to remedy that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, basement drainage.
The sprinkler system?
Sprinkler system, I think, I don't know what point that was addressed during the roof renovation, the roof's repair.
Exactly, done in 2010. So you have to put the roof on, but I think this also addresses, because we're bringing up the code, we'll have to put the, what we call the new end of the building, our sprinkler system, that's current sprinkler, so that's technically add a sprinkler system to that end of the building.
Just curiosity, when you talk about the new wing of the building being like the worst part, like, is there any, like, do we have a cost estimate just tearing that off? Like, is that even an option that we even thought about
I
or
don't think
considered?
we even discussed that aspect.
I mean, would that be cheaper than trying to fix it? I mean, I've heard nothing except that's a bad thing. Like, the rest of the building's pretty good, but that wing is awful. And if I'm incorrect, I mean, if my,
No,
that's what I've heard
no.
people say, so if what I'm hearing is incorrect, correct me.
Well, we've never talked or discussed it, because we always needed that floor space. So I don't think that's ever an option or even discussed.
If that wing came off, these numbers would change pretty significantly, true?
Well, they would, but I mean, we still have open space. I mean, that's the bottom line. I don't know. I'm not the population who determines what we need, what our population is going to be. I mean, I'm just going what we have the buildings, what we need, what I know the buildings need along with Rock City. Also, up for Neil and firms like him and Harriman and other resources. So it's a possibility. I mean,
Short
it's
answer,
on the
yeah,
table.
the cost would change, but they'd shift. You'd have to take into account, buttoning up the old building now and getting the demo done and that portion of it. But you'd see some change.
So Josh, you're really taking it down and not putting up anything in this list, is that?
Well, I don't, I'm trying to figure out. I'm stuck between what do we do now? And where do we want to be 20 years from now? Sure. Right? And I'm sure we have different ideas of where we want to be 20 years from now. But I think we'd all agree it probably isn't LES as it is. In our last meeting in Lebanon, we heard from several, I'm saying it's not representative of the entire community, but we heard from several people who came to the mic and they're like, I would recommend that the board put a tax money there. That's what we heard, right? In my inclination in the short term, I wouldn't choose to put tax money at LES either. At this point, right? 20 years from now, if we're still transporting young students from Lebanon to Knowlton, I'll be seriously disappointed in us. That's where I am. I don't know what we want to do. Whatever we're going to do is a significant cost. Huge, right? So like, what's the question we need to answer now? You know, like, yeah, we have lists of what needs to be done. I think it would be unfortunate for us as a board to say, okay, we no longer have a use for LES and we've done nothing to it in its current state, and we offer it to the town of Lebanon, and Lebanon's like, with a choice, hey, we can accept this building, but now we're on the hook for several $1 million worth of addressing if they want the building, right? Whereas, I mean, it's been in our care for 60 years?
72.
50 plus years? Yep. So it's been in our care for over 50 years. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like, I don't know, is it
72.
He's saying 70.
So we've had it 70 years.
72.
I thought he said since 70, I was like, wait a minute, no.
He doesn't, yeah, his fingers over.
Okay, since the 50s, yeah, I know, he's right, you can't, they're all short, it looks like a fifth.
50s, it was sold to the district is 1970s. Some horse.
So we've had it a long time, right? So it's,
The district has owned it a long time, and it's taken very good care of it, obviously.
is that sarcasm or is that real? I'm curious.
I'm never sarcastic.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
So, I mean, it's not in good shape right now, and it's been in our care for a long time, and I just think it would be imprudent or just, rude. If I borrow someone's tool, I give it back to them in better condition than what they gave it to me, right? Now, I'm not saying this tool is the same thing as a tool, but I think that way. You know, if we were going to legitimately offer it to Lebanon, I wouldn't want to offer it in its current state. But then what do we actually do to make it a serviceable building that might be of use to Lebanon? I mean, and if we're not going to do that, then yeah, what do we do? There's so many, like what question am I answering? What question are we answering?
You and I both live in homes that are over 200 years old,
Indeed.
and they can be money pits at times.
Yes, they can.
But, you know, if you love the building
Yeah.
and you love where it is,
Yeah.
you make those kinds of choices.
Right.
And I've heard from people in Lebanon that they love the location. They love having the building there. And they want a school in their district for their young students.
Yeah.
So can we afford a new school? Significantly more than investing this bottom dollar. We have this whole major up.
And if we brought that up to code, say, right, and move students back to LES, then we'd be having the same scenario that we didn't like before, which is where North Berwick and Berwick come together for a couple of years and then Lebanon joins them later on. And we didn't like that, right, as a district.
I don't recall, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't recall people speaking up at the last meeting saying that they wanted their fourth graders back in Lebanon. I think they agreed that they.
Right. I thought,
wanted to.
if we were to
But they
do
love,
something with.
love her, but she's lived her life.
That's what I
Is
heard.
the impression that I
That they were.
took with that, and there wasn't, and,
building,
yeah,
And that they were.
I didn't recall anyone saying anything about fourth graders.
I think the general consensus is if the board was to decide to put money into LES to keep it going while we come up with a better solution or a plan for the future, it wouldn't involve bringing the fourth and fifth graders back. It might be taking your third graders and second graders out of Hanson and moving them into that building, opening up space for pre-K and different things that are needed, like that extra, you know, and then that solves the problem of the extra third grade classroom. That's what I heard and what I've been hearing. But I still don't know what we do in Lebanon. To me, the most cost, the least amount of money is this, fixing this up and putting students in it. Even if we made a decision to close it down, we have a significant space issue in Hanson, and I don't know how we fix it without spending a lot of money. More than this,
So we would need a modular cottage.
Yes.
Because I did not hear them saying they wanted to go back into LAS. What I heard was they wanted us to do something at Hanson to make this.
Oh, yes, in a perfect,
Right.
ideal world,
So-
absolutely, that's
But-
what we would all love,
So
but
do
I
we-
don't know that that's feasible.
Do we think a cottage, cost of a cottage, would we build it again, or would we
We can do anything, it's just a matter of,
push it down?
like up Hanson, that price went out today, but the only thing we're finding right now is a single wide. The other drawback of the cottages is the one at the Hussey School and the ones we built over in North Berwick exceed the square footage now for at the sprinkled. We Neil verified this at the, we had big, lost the least portable classrooms, and they were 1,000 square feet that we sprinkled by expression system. I'm gonna do that out there, so now we're back to, all right, single wide trailers is all I'm finding right now from Ski Avenue. That's all they got available, that's all they got coming, because there's other school districts doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Leasing up all the modulars, so I've got square footage issue that I've got to stay under, but also is a single trailer, 12 by 16, I think 12 was. So it's
Joe, the ones
square
that-
feet, that's not very big.
Didn't we build some?
We did, but I still gotta stay under 1,000 square feet, or I wouldn't even put a cost on them, try to sprinkle.
Right.
For example, the cottage we built over North Berwick, then last spring, we weren't required to do so.
Right.
So if that would be required nowadays, constructing them like that, and I do believe in what, that's the price tag to put on that. It'd be expensive.
Can we look at that would cost?
I
I
can.
think we don't know what we're comparing right now. I mean, if we wanted to do something with a gym too, because that was the other.
Well, Lebanon is the only elementary school without a gym and we have a gym, Kappa Gymatorium. We don't
Mhm.
have one of each. We're the only elementary school. So if we're talking equitability.
Right.
But I understand it's a cost. And I don't think anyone's talking like huge, big, massive thing. We're talking a gym, just a gym,
That's what I'm saying.
another
A
space.
gym, yeah,
What would that
gym and a couple
cost?
classrooms, like how, or what would the timeline be on that?
Right.
I guess, what would the timeline be?
So-
A gym, a couple
Right.
classrooms, so how long would we have a portable? Could we deal with, for that interim time, having a less than 1,000 square foot portable to use, depending on the timeline of what an addition would be and then what the cost of that addition would be?
Did Schiavi price out the single?
That's what it was, which is single.
Right, but did they price it out?
Oh, I'm sorry, it was 14,950, I think, is what I said. It's, and that's for my yearly lease, and I just ran the numbers for 5 years. But there's also first time set up, I think 7 grand, something like that.
It's like 14.
That'll be,
That was 14 and then that's 75 on that.
well,
So 14 for the full
don't
5 years.
don't-
No.
14
Per year.
per year.
Setting it up. But that, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's just transporting it or if it includes like setting up an electricity pole and running electric. I don't know which one to go together.
So you have a question?
I do. We're talking about Lebanon and the cost of whatever, but we have a $10 million cost to get middle school or the intermediate school, what is it?
Intermediate school.
Back up and running. We have another, what's $5-6 million for Mary Herd. We have, how much for Hosey, I don't know because I haven't looked at it, but we have a lot of critical repairs. We're not talking just Lebanon. We're talking a bunch of schools that need money spent on them because they have not had that money spent on them for a number of years. So I don't know what the answer is. I certainly don't know the answer, but we have a lot of buildings that need work. Or they're going to start crumbling into the ground. This water damage on that brick, that where it's leaking in onto the inside wall is really a scary thing because it rots the wood. I don't know if these buildings all have brick facades that need to be repointed, thank you.
Well,
I don't know, but I know that we need to fix them. Do we, and we're gonna, so where are we gonna get the money? And how much money do we want to spend on all of these other programs when we're trying to just buildings back? Middle school is 5 years, I'm sorry, intermediate school is 5 years younger than Lebanon. Mary Herd is 5 years older, but our lifespan is, we have problems. I think we really need to look at, that's why I think Josh came up with that Heron thing. It's just overwhelming to think that those of us who've never ever had to deal with something of this magnitude and being asked to figure out with, as a board, what to do. Because it is, yeah, to me, it's huge. It's huge. It's huge. And a lot of money. These buildings are at stake right now.
I don't think anyone disagrees with that. I think we all.
What are we gonna do, is what I'm asking. Where are we going?
Well, we're trying to chip away at it. That's what we're trying to do.
We're chipping away at the one school we need because we need to house kids. Lebanon, it kind
So
of is overcrowded.
you propose to spend the money?
Temporarily. I don't want to see, I mean, we can't keep Lebanon forever.
No, I know. I'm curious what your thoughts are. I'm genuinely curious. Would you just do the yellow highlighted things? Would you do the entire thing? Would you put
Only what they told me I had to do.
to keep kids safe?
For safety. And I would do nothing else. ADA does not need to be addressed. If we don't work on it, I believe. Bringing it up to code, as long as we don't start doing major renovations, we're quiet. And I would start looking at how much money would it cost and can we, instead of putting $10 million into the intermediate school, like Josh said, but there's $20 million in 4 schools that need to be addressed. So maybe we should not be spending that $20 million to bring these buildings up to code. Maybe we need to put that money aside for another school, a new school. We've got schools that are just aging out of, they're aging out. We've got to start putting some new blood back into the program.
And I agree, but we have to put the kids in Lebanon somewhere.
Lebanon is safe to put them in. They can go into Lebanon. It's a safe school at this time. It's not condemned. It's never been condemned. It's just not, when I went to school there, the annex, I think we called it the annex. It keeps coming to my mind, so it has to be the annex. It's no different than it is now. It's just, it heaves, and every time it heaves, it causes more damage to the exterior. I think Josh is right. Plow it down, get a hole and bury it. But
After we're done using it.
afterwards, but I keep coming back to, and I'm not a plumber, not anything, but our bathrooms work in that building was leach field work. So when the building heaves and holes, it doesn't seem to be affecting the restrooms. So it's just that one that where the library used to be. Do you guys know where the library was? It's now a storage room. So that exterior floor, it's always been a mess, the library, and then the cold because the windows never closed properly. But I don't think the windows never, all the buildings are like that. I mean, Jeff said that the windows were repaired. I assume that means they were repaired in the old part of the building, rather than the annex part. Because the annex part, that's what you're going to repair the windows. They twist and turn. It was plastic. So they you move the plumbing of the building. It's just, I don't know. I don't have the answer. I just think we need to really be thinking about all of these buildings, not one building.
Right, but also, let's, not be the dead horse by no means, but this is the same conversation we had back in 2018. As we were bringing, this is something that's been ongoing, and every time we bring up this process, it's like we end up going through all this, and we get to the point, well, we don't know what are we gonna do? We haven't done nothing. We've been 8 years fighting this, and it's 8 years getting worse and worse. Neil still walks with me, it's, at the point, we're gonna make a decision to do something, we gotta go forward, because it's not gonna keep.
Mhm.
It's not gonna get any cheaper.
Right. I think the
The problem's
money,
gonna get worse,
yeah.
so it's a.
Put the money into a longer term solution, like making renovations at Hanson. We're not putting taxpayer money into something that we're saying, well, we'll just do it until we.
25 years, I'm just kind of keeping up with what said, let's do renovations, we get 25 years out of it. Well, it's gonna work real quick, we've been here 25 years.
You know, it's, yeah.
Well,
What if we get 5 years?
Well, that's what I'm saying, I think we gotta go to, and this is my personal opinion, as the taxpayer in this district and employee of the district, it's time that we move on from it. Obviously, I don't with it, but it's time. You get a report from civil consultants, you get a report from Harriman. I actually think we have an assessment from CHA, the architect that, did the original addition design for all 3 of our buildings in 3 towns in 2021. And they're on board that, yes, it's come due. Well, we all know that. We've known that for years. When are we going to make a decision to do something? I mean, we've done walking, you've been at every walkthrough.
I have.
You've been at every single walkthrough, that ain't walking soup. I mean, but I mean, we just continue to do it, and we have the same argument, same conversation. I mean, you guys see the heating costs for that building?
We're
Maybe the other
just dumping
ones?
money. It feels to me like we're just throwing good money after that.
Well, and to address your point, Nancy, of putting kids back in that building, even like, because the water's running, all that is okay. We're not, I think the big part of that conversation that we're missing is what we heard from administration in that building or in Lebanon and from the teachers in Lebanon, that utilizing two schools and walking back and forth from the gym and having one set of administrators between two schools, nurses, like, it was really interrupting the quality of education this population of kids is getting. And
our staff is incredible and they make everything work. It was very challenging to have most of the time no administrators in one building. And you're sharing a lot of staff. It can be done, and our staff has done it successfully for a lot of years. I'm not gonna say that it's not doable, but there were a lot of challenges associated with it.
And all I'm saying is that before we focus entirely on Lebanon, we need to focus on the big picture and then go backward. So the same thing with the preschool problem. You know, we need to get our facilities under control. We need to come up with a plan, whatever that plan, maybe 2 or 3 plans to present. But we need to have some plan for the district. And then we need to zero in on these targeted areas, Lebanon being one of them, Mary Herd being another. I've said, sorry, sir, but I keep saying Mary Herd. I say the intermediate school is running out of its life expectancy. There's another one. What's the other one?
None of them are in bad shape. and it's
Right, so I think it's step
critical.
one
So we have
is
to
like
start
critical
worse.
solution, like do we plan on keeping
I think
at least pre-K to 3 in Lebanon? If we plan on keeping at least pre-K to 3 in Lebanon, then I think that is the focus. And Kevin, I mean, you're more familiar with the buildings than I am, but like, I think that needs to at least be step one, because the current population of kids that are there, there's not space and there's not a function, like they need a gym, they need that kind of stuff. So in my mind, that is step one. This is the most critical. We need to solve this and then go to the next most critical. And the next most critical might be looking at that 4 to 6 population and saying, we're not going to touch NIS, we're going to do a new school or whatnot. But I think that like right now, when looking at all of our schools, this is the most critical because there's literally not room for kids and not adequate accommodations for kids within the existing school. Unless you want to spend millions of dollars to fix up the other school, but it's still not really helping the long-term situation.
How much did the yurt cost?
I'm sorry?
How much did the yurt cost?
Oh, gosh.
What?
The yurt, it's like 200. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. 200,000. Yeah. Well, it's full on. It's got everything in it. It's got a bathroom and the whole 9 yards.
But a cottage for a couple of years would be less expensive than.
So Schiavi, just going through that again, 14,000 per year for a single.
Yeah, 12,000 per year, 975 a month. Yeah, one time set the working.
But a single wide is 12 feet, right?
Yeah. They quoted me 12 by 60 long.
So
it's like an elevator shaft.
2 classrooms? Would it be enough for 2 classrooms? 2 classrooms? Classroom and bonus space?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, but as of the needs right now in Lebanon, it's 1 classroom that is
I
really.
mean, that's not the route I want to go with it, really.
No, well,
But
to put an addition on, like if we're putting an addition on, would that accommodate the addition? And, or what would we need to do to accommodate an addition? And then how long would that process take?
It's a good question, when you
What's the price of the addition? What was that price?
You don't.
For the
What was it back in 18?
Well, it was.
we looked at it the other day.
It was 21.
So it's like 21 million.
No, I mean 21, year
Oh, you mean
21,
21. Wasn't it like-
2021.
Wasn't it? What was the price of the,
For the bond.
for
27.
was it 27 million?
That was across the district. though.
Interest.
No, that was not, that was specific. We broke that down to
But how much? did
Lebanon.
that- What, so I don't know what was,
What was included?
yeah, thank you. Where's it now?
Just 2 years ago, I can't remember.
That's a gym.
the gym, and there was a 2-story addition of classrooms.
and a band room and a stage.
Right,
For safety in the front.
right.
But some
And
of that would not be necessary.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
But a lot of that, CJ quote also had a lot of work to do in, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're working with doing the demolition of the elementary school.
There were also costs with that, and I don't know if that's in that 27 million.
Right. So,
So somewhere between 15 and 30 million.
if we're close.
It's a pretty wide range of it, yeah.
I didn't say I couldn't do the job, I just said, I want you to qualify.
Yeah.
So 15 to 30.
Mhm.
And Berwick and Northbrook's gonna vote to put 15 to 30 million dollars in Lebanon?
So according to the conversations that we had with both of the town officials for Northbrook and Berwick, had we just put forward Lebanon, they felt like that was appropriate because they felt like it was necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was back in 2018.
No, 2021.
2021, yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
So we don't know, I mean, we've heard a lot of concerns about, from the two towns about the concerns about doing anything in Lebanon where it's not safe.
Well, I think that's why they were in favor of an addition to the Hampton School, because they, exactly. Mhm.
They think it would be safer?
Hanson School?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure, safety in terms of what are you talking about?
The SRO,
Oh,
police.
okay, well, yeah, I mean, I think there's always conversation about the lack of law enforcement but I don't think that didn't make the
I never heard that.
question about, that wasn't related to the bill. Yeah, I think it was the
Yes.
bond, yeah.
I mentioned that at a meeting because Berwick sending their students to 11 in school.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Lebanon school, it was the Berwick residents and North Berwick
I
residents
won't
sending their students to Lebanon school.
Right. So Kevin, if we did a single
Yeah.
and then another single, not attached,
Yeah.
we don't have to sprinkle.
No, we're gonna keep them at least 30 feet apart. By,
What? I mean, I understand the preference would be to put a classroom as close to the building as possible. We have classrooms in LES. I know it's not ideal, but we're already paying. We're already paying to heat it. We're already paying the septic. We're already paying for everything. Like, why wouldn't we just use the classroom spaces that are in existence rather than paying more money for bringing
Is what
Trailer.
Melissa just said.
What did I say?
Because the administration is shared, teachers are going back and forth.
Oh, yeah,
between
I mean,
buildings.
they can make it work,
But you're not running the whole
but you would
school,
have to
right?
bring,
It's
you would have
two
to,
classrooms,
but why would you want to put kids, just 2 classrooms worth of kids in a building
three
by
classrooms.
themselves?
I mean, I'm just saying, we have, I mean, it's a walk. I mean, I know it's not
I know
ideal.
it sounds like just a walk, but until you've actually done it, you don't get the whole scope of it. And I'm not trying to like patronize you in any way. I'm just saying, like, until you've
I know,
done it,
but
it's
then-
hard to know what it's actually like. I'm not saying I'm against it. I honestly, this is something I'm struggling with a lot because I want to spend our taxpayer dollars as wisely as possible. I'm having a hard time seeing how putting money into this building is a wise use of the money. I think if we were going to decide to put kids in that building until we came up with a plan to make more room at Hanson, which something has to be done. It should be 2 grades worth of kids to make it a better school experience. So you are talking about the cost of bringing in the staff too, that is required to now open this building again, because that was part of the cost savings in the budget last year, was eliminating some staff from LES. So that has to be part of the conversation too, that if we're gonna do that, okay, so now we're bringing in like the lunch staff, another custodian over there. There's a lot involved, and the state's gonna require you to have all your Title I people and different ed techs that offer those students services, because there wouldn't be enough space or staff to manage both buildings without bringing in extra staff, I believe. So I'm not saying this is not like a plea for me one way or the other. This is just like, these are all the things we have to think about when we're talking about Lebanon.
How long would it take to put on that addition if we put on something with a gym and a couple of classrooms and
I have, to be honest, I have no idea.
I think they had,
I mean,
they had a 3-year down from, with 2 years.
Did you say 2
it's a
years?
3 year from the time of vote completion, you know what I'm saying? 3 years.
4 years.
See, but it could possibly be faster.
Well, no, 3+ a year from the vote, so it's gonna take time for you to figure out what you're gonna do to get people to vote on it, to be able to start. So 3 years is just, I think, the construction process.
Right.
Permitting.
So the earliest we would have a commit would be next June.
A vote?
I think you have a vote,
Yeah.
you vote anytime.
Like a special.
Set up a special.
A special
vote, I
election.
think anytime. But you'd have to have, I think you'd have to have the plans and all of the.
And do the kind of meetings with each of the towns and,
And the architects and the
yeah.
drawings and all that. Public hearings so that people can look at what it is and what they're voting on. It just takes it some months. Not super.
And that still leaves us with 3 years to figure out what to do with the students in Lebanon.
That's it.
At the gym and cafeteria.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I think I heard that, and Carmen might be able to speak to this, but I thought they'd come up with a plan to kind of, for current, did you and the PE teacher come up with a plan to make it work in the schedule that she wouldn't have to use LES?
We could make that happen. We could make that happen. It would be best if there was a satellite as well, so that could happen. I'm over here thinking other things like the cost of keeping it open for the 4 years that it would take opposed to having a satellite there.
Would be cheaper to have the satellite.
Yeah.
What's satellite?
They got it, the cottage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you call it, yeah.
Definitely, I think we'd have to do that. I think you'd have.
Can I ask a question about the cottage? Does it have to be a special that goes in that space, or can we get creative and put something else there so that our specialists are all in the building?
It can't be a classroom if there's no bathroom. So it would need to be
And
something.
specials isn't considered a class or a classroom? Like,
Well,
could-
no, like it switches every 45 minutes. That's different than being in a full-day
What about
classroom.
intervention? Like, what about
Yes,
Title I?
yes, I was
Title
just
I
going to
doesn't
say, you
count?
could put Excel out
I just don't
there.
think it's a good idea to
You
put
could
one of your
put Title
specialists on
I.
a cart.
Yes, exactly. You could put Title I out. Anything that you can escort
Yes.
students back and forth. That's what Huzzy does. That's what North Berwick was doing for a while. However, North Berwick started with it being grade level classrooms, and they were going, there was an escort to take them to the
Yeah, I was
bathroom.
like, wait, no, there were
to lunch.
classrooms and those got
Yeah.
When we lose power in Lebanon, there's escorts to
Yes,
Hanson.
yeah,
Totally
yeah,
generate.
yes, yeah. But yes, it doesn't have to be a grade level classroom or a specialist. It could be
So that
a
I would fight
support.
very hard to not put
I
our
like that.
specialists on a
Mhm.
cart.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't be equitable. If we're talking about equitability, that's not equitable. When I will say North Berwick has specialists in the cottages, and that was definitely
On a
better.
cart?
No,
The
no,
kids
that
go
was their room. Like the steam room is out in the cottage.
Yes.
Music room is out in
Yes.
the cottage.
Mhm.
So they go out.
That's fine, I
for
just
their
don't want
special.
them on a
I
cart.
think the least amount of kids going to the cottage is better in general. So as far as
So it's
safety back and forth, and yes, an intervention would be a great choice if possible, but they have specials out there. It's
Any other questions for Neil specifically about this information? Because it's late.
Yeah, it's really late.
And it's a drive.
Neil Reynolds at 6.
Sorry, Neil, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This will help a little bit, I hope.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so. Any more questions for Kevin?
Do we want to explore the cost of what it would be to put that addition on?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can do
Something
that.
smaller than what was proposed.
Yes.
Like, what are the bare, especially if population is going to continue to just decrease?
Bare minimum.
Right.
Yeah, what is,
Mhm.
and then with that, the exact numbers of what a modular
Yes.
cottage or whatever. We'd wanna,
7 million for all three schools?
No.
That was just one.
No, it was a big
But it
ticket.
had a lot more than,
Yes.
it had a lot more than.
Would we be required to do any other work in Lebanon if we were to add in addition?
Kevin, do you want to answer that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
at Hanson.
Would we be required to do any additional work at Hanson if we were to do an addition?
Depends on, probably, we'll have to do something, it depends what we choose to do if we go that route. So like as far as, when you're talking work inside the current building, are you talking?
If we were to add,
outside?
if we were to add a gymnasium and a couple of classrooms, obviously you'd have to have bathrooms as well, right? If you did that, would we be required to do other work to Hanson because we are putting on an addition?
Would you have to add like an elevator to meet the ADA?
No, because we're gonna be single story.
Would we have to change like a secure entrance or any of that stuff? Would we have to upgrade electrical?
No, that's already been built in. With the CHA stuff, we did 20 ways, all that stuff's already factored.
Is our heating system big enough to take
Yes.
on an addition?
We just put 2 brand new ones in, it's just to accommodate that.
Thanks, Neil.
We put the fire suppression system back in with SRF funding in 2020 during COVID, just to get ready for possible addition down the road. So all that work has already been pretty much taken care of, addressed. The only thing now, basically, we want to start that process again, it's kind of repricing what we've already done, just on a small scale, depending on what we want. I think before we had 2 stories with, I think, 17 classrooms, something like that, now we'll get a gymnasium, got the classrooms here, and I think there's a music room, band room, so you can downsize it whenever you want. That'll depend what the price is gonna cost. So we can certainly pull out those old plans, if we look at them, and then collaboratively come up with an idea, of what do we want, what do we need, what would be feasible, then you price it that way.
Right.
And then, yeah, now we wouldn't need the band room because
Correct. Right.
there's no chorus and
Right.
band anymore.
No band.
There's no chorus and band anymore.
Sure. Well, I don't know that. I mean, I'm not the curriculum guy.
You don't know everything, Kevin?
Would you say that?
So we're getting punked.
It's punchy over there.
So we know this is a
Yeah.
continued discussion, but we wanted Neil, he was available to come in. So we just wanted to clarify because of those questions about the differences between the two.
So is that the next step is start to just kind of pull the old information on me? Is that how we want to proceed and then just kind of view it? Next meeting we all have, say, look, just what we've done, what we had previous, I don't change. You want to change.
Costs for this.
You want different ideas, different options. I mean,
Is it something that can be given to us ahead of time before the meeting, so we can look at it before we get here?
Is it something that we know someone or someone knows someone too, that we could say like, hey, if we just did this and this and this, can you give us like a random, very loose
Right,
ballpark?
we'd go back to the architectural firm that developed the plans. That's the easiest, most time efficient, and they know it the best. Yeah.
Seeing that pricing conversation would,
Yes.
I think, help with
right,
us.
because I mean, they've already got all the information on everything, because they did the original slide, they come down, they did the walkthrough, they did the measurements, they get we get all the permitting and all that good stuff. So they pretty much already done the process. All we got to do now is get the size square footage we want to build, we chose to do that, and then they price it out based on what we've kind of decided to do from, moving forward.
So does require putting a parking lot over at the Loveland School?
It did. And also added parking into currently where Hanson is.
Right, so are we going back to like demolishing the Loveland School in order to put in a parking lot so that the townspeople will know?
Don't know.
I thought we decided that we would decide if it was going
You
back
have,
to
yes, you
Lebanon.
have to make a decision about is it the use of the school, and if you want to return it to the town, and if the town will accept it.
Once you vote to close the school, once the town closes the school, it's your prerogative or the district's prerogative what happens to the.
Exactly. So
So the question is the district going to return that to the town? If they close it, or are they going to say, no, we need it, we have to put it in a parking lot?
If that's a decision, that's your decision. I think that our recommendation would be to allow the town to have the opportunity to take it back.
Are we going to make that clear before it goes to vote?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What's happening?
Yes. Sure.
Because they're not required to accept it.
Yes.
So if they don't, does not have to accept it, but the district decides what happens to that school if they vote it closed. So if we close the school in Lebanon, and they would like to get it back as a community center, why, I don't know, but if they did, and the district decided, no, we need a parking lot, we can turn it into a parking lot.
Yeah,
do
we
not
can.
need to
No,
go
yeah, I
back to the
understand.
town.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to make it very clear that this is an option. And we also need to know what it would cost to put a parking lot in here. Best estimate right now is around $2 million. How close?
Yeah.
No parking?
Right.
I had a question, like, there's like no, like the staff that was at LES, right, is now at Moulton essentially, right? So they're not parking cars right there, so aren't there parking spaces available at LES now? For whatever parking spaces we would eat up in the renovation, the addition?
No, because you won't have that property.
Right, so currently, yes, Josh, so if, as it stands, there's not many folks that park over there, but there's some that still park over just because it's easier and they walk over. But if we make, I think the piece that we really need to look at is if we did that addition, how does that impact the current parking situation and how broadly does it hit the fields and things like that? And then make the decision about whether or not do we need that part. And the other, if we did, like there's always the option of working with the town to say, if you would like this property and would be willing to accommodate 15 parking spaces for us while you utilize it, that might work too, right?
We can
So-
tear off the really awful part of the building and put that in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of spaces in that annex section.
I would hate to give up that property because once you sell the property, you can never give it back.
That is a true thing. You never get the land
You
back.
can't control what the town will do with the property. So I was saying, they could sell it to anyone and anyone could build anything there. And once you give it up, if it was across town, perfect. But it's right next to that school, right next, it's prime next to the school. So if we want an outdoor classroom space or anything like that, we never get it back.
There's that.
I don't know that we can afford to keep it.
Sure. Well, once you back it down, there's no maintenance to it.
Into it and keep it.
Just a really expensive septic system that doesn't have anything on it.
Yeah, that's true. There would be that too.
Should last forever now.
Yeah. Well, until the trees go.
Okay, so we're getting information about an addition for a gym, some classrooms, and what that would be. We're going to price out Skiavi, just write it all down for Skiavi, then see what it would be to build our own. All right. Just the one other piece of information, because it is running late, is the question came up about what it would cost to just bring the fourth grade back to Lebanon. This is the information. We can just go through this quickly. We don't need to have a long discussion. It's just FYI. So in addition to bringing the classroom teachers over, there would be 3 sections. Because there's 3 sections of 3rd grade, you would need 3 sections of 4th grade. So you'd need a half-time special education teacher. That figure, that salary is there. That includes benefits. 1 educational technician, and that would be for Title I for classroom intervention. That's that figure. The Ed Tech 2 for special education to support students that are receiving specially designed instruction. They would need a secretary, and we did a secretary/CNA because of the health concerns with 1 nurse going between 2 buildings. That's not feasible. So morphing that position to a CNA, we put that at an Ed Tech 2. It would be an Ed Tech 2 just because of the certification needed for that, not an Ed Tech 3. And then when we talked with transportation, we would potentially, and we do not know this yet, and that's why it's potential, we may need to have another driver and another run for Lebanon. So that would be that figure there. So the total for staff would be $230,300. The additional expenses focus on the kitchen. So the oven, the burner, the serving unit, the milk cooler, the double door freezer, the single fridge, and the warmer. That is an additional $37,800. So that puts it at $268,100. When you're looking at the budget, when Sue and I were looking at it earlier, that's about 0.5%.
Like if you, just a real ballparky.
Real ballpark.
Denise would be proud of us that we tried to figure that out. Yeah.
Would that be cooking, would that be the kitchen staff as well?
We would just bring a kitchen staff member over from.
To serve?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Did we just get rid of all of the equipment that was there?
Some of it needs to be revamped and some of it moved to other buildings. Yeah.
Okay.
Because they needed to have replacement.
Yeah.
We did have a question at the hearing last spring about bringing the motion, what it would cost to bring it back, and it was about $500,000. So this corroborates that we did on the spot at that moment. So again, that is just because that question was asked. So that is that information. We know this is a conversation that's ongoing. We have assignments for us for the next time. Thank you. I think we're good. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Are we gonna follow up with another facilities workshop or?
We should probably, yeah. And if you recall, when we started talking about the facilities workshop, we talked a lot about different configurations of what that looks like. And we talked about having a subgroup looking at it. We talked about adding community members. And at that point in time, it was the decision of the board to have those conversations be full board discussions. So that's why we're continuing with that model. And, we've certainly, with the way that we did the special meeting the last time, we did receive a lot of good feedback from families, from parents, from community members. So that was insightful for us, but we can certainly look at, when we have our next facilities committee meeting, if you want to talk about how to branch out or bring other people in, we can do that as well. But again, I want to just go back to the fact that when we started this discussion, it was felt at that time that it was important for the entire board to hear all this conversation. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So moving right along.
Okay, we can be quick on some of the rest.
I've lost my agenda.
We're at employment.
Employment, okay.
Excuse me, we have one resignation, Shailene Wallace Borden, who's the social worker at Noble Intermediate in Hanson School. So we need a motion and a second for that.
Motion to accept.
The motion on the floor. Have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have a reason?
Josh seconded.
I'm sorry.
Second, do we have a reason?
It's personal reasons, yep.
We have a motion. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? The motion is passed.
Okay, we have the superintendent's update.
Okay.
Okay, so just a few quick things. Our school nutrition director, David Vargas, has been selected by the Maine School Nutrition Association to attend the March Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. So we'll invite him to come in after that just to talk about that. Our Noble Athletics recently held the Hall of Honor ceremony, and 6 individuals were recognized, and the 1997 football team was recognized, and I believe that was the team that won the state champions.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
That was the team
So
that Noble High School built.
Exactly. So that whole ceremony can be viewed on the Town of Berwick YouTube page. They were there filming that, so that was great. The past Tuesday evening, we had the concert here. We had a patriotic concert here for 9 to 12, and we also had the parent conferences here. So that concert is always very well attended and very well received by the community, and that was no exception. And just a quick reminder that the food drive for the backpack program is continuing, and that's spearheaded by a joint effort by our PTOs and our communities. So, and we have drop-off locations in the schools. All right.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
The North Berwick Holiday Parade is November 27th, I believe, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And since we don't have a meeting before then.
So it must be the 29th.
Ninth, okay.
So you're
Just
okay.
saying,
Okay.
are we participating? Do we want to participate? And would we going to March or?
I'm already in it.
Okay.
Separately.
Excuse me.
That's you.
We can
And
talk
what time
about
is it?
getting all done.
I think it's
4:15 is kickoff, I
Berwick's is
think.
the same day, I think. Berwick's is the same day.
They're usually
Berwick,
Sunday.
No, I used to do my rides for it. I think they're,
I got an email for it. Hold on.
and it's with Summersworth, so it might be Sunday now.
I think they do their Sunday. No, I think they do theirs a totally separate weekend.
I think
Usually
it's
they
the
do it in
following
December,
weekend.
It's the following week. Town of
December
Berwick
something.
Recreation.
Yeah.
That was Berwick on November 29th.
North.
North Berwick.
North Berwick.
4 o'clock.
And let me look up Berwick's. Are you looking?
It's not that.
I'm pretty
That was
sure
not
it's
email I
probably
received.
usually
December
that first
12th
weekend
or
of December.
13th.
Yeah.
sometimes. Okay, we'll get back to that. Okay. So that's the superintendent's update.
Okay,
Thank you.
If anyone does want to go to the North Berwick, you can always
Go on.
I'm sure the current board wouldn't mind if I can confirm with them. If anyone wanted to walk with the North Berwick PTO.
I cannot.
I can.
No, I cannot. And we bring my daughters to the airport, so.
North Berwick's is December 6th
Oh.
at
Oh, it is
1:30.
At 1:30, you said? What
Yeah.
did you say?
The Berwick one is December 6th at 1:30.
Berwick, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're moving into other at this point. We did have a motion at the beginning of the meeting to add a discussion performance of a certain vendor, educator. I have been advised that even though this individual is an LLC, she is still an individual. And I believe that we should probably table this and have it in a discussion in an executive session.
When will that executive session be?
Why don't we have,
You can do it the first or the second.
Yeah,
It's in December.
Before the
Yeah.
first meeting.
The first or the second.
the first meeting in December.
Which is December
4th.
4th.
Is it,
Are you okay
not
with
know
it?
what the agenda looks like. Is it possible to do it before the meeting? So that way we have time to talk about it without.
Unless we have an
Sorry.
expulsion hearing.
Which we don't know, right? at this point.
So you want to start at like 6 or 6:30?
Enough time to discuss things, but I just am thinking like if this were an executive session tonight, we wouldn't be starting until 10:30, 11
Yeah.
o'clock. So I just want to try and
Yeah.
save us from that.
Yeah, that's,
So if we can do it before the regular scheduled meeting, I think that'd be my 2
Is that
cents.
person invited to that executive?
Oh, yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, it's typically.
Should.
Yeah, it's all blurred, yeah,
to talk to the attorney about that.
I was talking about the LLC, right? I understand what you're saying, right? Because the LLC has few employees, right?
I believe it's only one plus the principal.
I think during the time it's been more than, questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have to talk about it. So if we're gonna do that, I think maybe that person should be there, at least be invited, but they can stay outside. And if we decide as a school board to invite them in for a chance to answer questions, they can do that, but to have them there, probably a good thing. And this certainly would be enough notice for that to happen.
Check with the attorney.
We will check with the attorney on the best
Because
process.
she may have the right to be present.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's a fact finding. It's not a reprimand or dismissal or negative, it's just a fact finding.
When you're talking about any personnel, they have a right to be.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I'm just
Okay.
saying, I mean, it's just not just, if.
We will check with we'll
yeah.
check with Drummond to see what the best way to title that is and to move ahead.
Awesome.
So I'm just stating it as we'll add an executive session to the beginning of the December 4th board meeting.
I think we gotta start at least 6.
Okay.
I do want to add to that though, when we're having that discussion, I think, and I don't remember your exact motion, but I think it was like stopping programming
Yes.
immediately. And I just want to caution that we keep in mind that like an overnight decision could significantly impact a student day the next day and a teacher day the next day.
Yeah.
So just bearing in mind that if we did make that decision as a board, we might want to like think of giving it
I appreciate that.
a
And then-
week or something like that. So like we can make sure the kiddos are still
That's
getting
more
what they
than
need.
fact finding.
Yeah.
If we're
Yeah.
saying that that's the
Yeah.
goal, then that person definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to give the caveat that if the person is allowed and should be present and is not available on the 4th, but is available the following board meeting, that we honor that, because if it is
If it's fact finding and you want to have the person there to talk about it, that would make sense. Yeah.
but we will clarify.
Please communicate the urgency. I want to have
I
this discussion a
understand.
long time
I
ago when I asked for
understand.
the data to justify what was happening. And I have not seen it, and I'm looking at our district results and knowing that we put a lot of stock into it and not seeing it, like, there's a sense of urgency here, right? So I don't want to postpone to mid-December and postpone to January, like.
We do our best, Josh. You know, we
I
do our
know,
best.
I
Every
know.
single thing that everybody asks of us, we do our absolute best, whether you see that or not. And we will make it as urgent as possible, but we also do not control other people's schedules. But I will certainly state, as soon as we talk to our lawyers, I'll certainly state what they require or
Yeah.
advise us to do.
With,
And,
I'm sorry. With that, that's a good point though. With that, when you do talk to the lawyers, can you ask if they are unavailable? Yeah, if they,
How do we work?
if they have to be there, or is there a conversation we can have
That
legally
doesn't
that
require
doesn't
them.
require them to be there? And what are the parameters of that? So we can have a conversation sooner than later.
Yep.
Still
Certainly.
legal and status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a great. follow-up.
Could I ask a question? If this is a fact-finding mission, do you have documentation or facts that you want to share with the team?
Sure. I mean, it's everything's public, right?
I would say that, I'm going to interrupt and say again, that if we're talking about a person, I do not want to talk about that person with 2-hour warning without that person being able to be, have any information about the fact that a school board in public session is speaking about somebody without them knowing.
Yeah.
I do not feel that
Treading on
that's.
very dangerous
Yes,
ground.
yes.
Okay, good. Do we have other?
Do we need to? So you tabled it. I was like, do we need to withdraw a motion or just
No,
table it?
no
Okay.
take action.
Okay, just make sure,
It was added to the agenda, we had a discussion, there's no action.
making sure.
Do we have other at this point?
I was just gonna say the PTO food drive ends tomorrow.
Thank you.
I think they're collecting bins
Yes.
tomorrow morning at like 9
Thank you.
o'clock, so.
Thank you.
Get your cans. Yeah, get them there early.
Okay. And so for the few brave souls who have stayed with us through these many hours, do we have public input at this point?
Since I stayed.
Thank you for that.
Austin Evans, North Berwick. Didn't actually plan on saying anything, but regarding preschool, my daughter is in the pre-K program, West Berwick. I can't say enough good things about how that program has been going. From the organization and communication at the teacher level, right to the care that they're getting throughout the day. My daughter's always been sharp and bright. She was the first kid during COVID, so she had a lot of one-on-one time. And I'm absolutely baffled at how much she's learned in 2 months, just having that extra level of interaction. And it's particularly educational to come here because I didn't necessarily put 2 and 2 together, but prior to my daughter starting, we had her in a private preschool doing half days. And it was an absolutely miserable experience, both from my wife and I's side, the back and forth of driving to and from, you get maybe 3 hours out of the day. So she wasn't able to work enough or pick up a job or anything that would justify those costs. And meanwhile, we have another one at home too. So the program has been exceptional so far, and I really look forward to and hope to be able to put my son in the same program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for staying with us.
Yeah.
Thanks. Do we have any other public input this evening? I want to thank our noble student for also staying with us.
Hey, credit to you, man.
Do you need a note for not doing your homework tonight?
Make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. All those in favor?